We are live in a
Baby.
galaxy far, far away.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Well, welcome to...
I would say welcome to what hopefully is the first annual May the 4th Be With You celebration.
This is the first non-whiskey themed stream we've ever done. Now, will there be whiskey? Yeah, there's going to be a lot of whiskey tonight. Don't get me wrong. Scott and I have pulled out some very special bottles, but tonight's theme is a little different. And everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining us. If you're here, you share this interesting passion for two things, whiskey and Star Wars.
Right.
And, I don't know, Scott, what do you think? Is that sort of is there a natural synergy between the two, or is it just we're just nerds and we're nerds and therefore we like those things?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think there's a natural synergy between the two. There's a lot of Star Wars fans that don't drink whiskey, and there's a lot of whiskey folk that don't probably watch Star Wars. Yeah. A couple of them work, with us. They've never seen Star Wars, but no, I don't. I think it's only the cream that rises to the top. Like both whiskey and Star Wars, it's you're a Star Wars nerd, huh? No, I'm like a super nerd.
No, I'm a fully grown human being with really good taste and culture. Yeah. That's typically my response, everybody. Shout out to everybody who's with us tonight. I see some familiar names. First of all, drop a comment if you were here on Monday night. I know, for instance, Tamar, I see you. Tom, you were first on Monday. Robert G's in the house. Good to see you, Robert. A couple new names as well. Cat in the Garden says, "Oh heck yes, we having a Star Trek day too." Lol. I don't know, Scott. Are we gonna have a Star Trek day after this? I guess we'll see.
I'm not as big of a. I've liked the latest Star Wars or Star Trek movies when Chris Pine came in as Captain Kirk, where they kind of went back and reset the timeline. I'm not as big a fan with the older stuff. So, but I thought the new movies were really good. But we're not here to talk about Star Trek.
Yeah. This is May the 4th, the eve of Cinco de Mayo. There are two reasons to celebrate. First of all, everybody. Tonight, as you can tell, different type of stream. We're not previewing any new product releases or anything. There's no new whiskeys. Instead, Scott and I said, look, it's May the 4th. We need a reason to pull out some of our most memorable SMWS whiskeys to date, at least in our collection. Maybe not to date or anything we have, but everything within our own collection. You can tell, obviously, Scott and I have a lot of whiskeys here. The choice was difficult. And I think for me, I was telling Scott, let's pick 3, and I have 7 whiskeys on the table.
Oh.
So, just in case I change my mind.
I picked 3. You said pick 3. I picked 3, but I did. So we were sitting here talking, getting ready. We've been behind the scenes for about 30 minutes, but we hadn't said anything to each other. We're wetting the palate, and I was looking over what whiskey bottles to choose just to wet the palate. This was not one of the 3 bottles that I chose, but I think this was from the November or December outturn, 27-year-old 70.43 Shelter Under the Palm Trees. And I poured it. I was sitting here, I'd taken a couple sips, and I told Ben what I picked. And Ben said, guess what I'm drinking?
The same freaking whiskey. That was wild. Yeah. So Scott and I both decided to kick off the night. It's going to be a good night, everyone. We both picked the same exact whiskey. Look, what are the odds of that happening? You can probably look behind me at least.
Right.
One in a few hundred, and 10 times 2, man. So here we are. Cheers, everybody. I'd say tonight, pour a dram. You know what? Forget it. Grab the bottle off the shelf. Take the cork out of the bottle. You don't need a glass tonight. This is May the 4th. We're going to talk about some Star Wars. I think maybe we'll recap sort of our own love for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, Scott, you and I are fans. Look at us. Here we are. But we've never really talked about it. We've just both been like, oh, have you seen that? You watch that movie, you watch that show, you see that episode. We haven't really talked about ever why we're into it. The deep stuff, the emotional stuff. So tonight we'll break down the emotions of Star Wars fandom. No, maybe we'll theorize and talk about cool things going on. Of course, we'll probably hit up the fact that the new Obi-Wan trailer just dropped today.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure anybody will talk about that. But more importantly, I think we'll also have some giveaways.
Yeah.
Scott, I haven't even told you this, but we'll do a little bit of trivia, throw that in there.
You bet.
And then, look, you guys, everybody in the chat, you can steer the conversation however you want it. We're all here to talk about whiskey and Star Wars, mostly Star Wars with a little bit of whiskey drinking. So
I brought up, though, I said, let's just start naturally, chronologically in time. We're going to go back to 1977 and progress through as the movies came out. So we'll touch on A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Then we're going to go to Episode 1, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. And we'll hit Solo, we'll hit Rogue One, and maybe the 3 new movies. If we have time.
Did you watch any animated shows?
I watched the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I started to watch the Rebels, but it was way too young kid friendly. So I did like the newer. They did. So there was the 2 series of the Clone Wars. Yeah, I forgot about those. But the newer one that wasn't quite as cartoonish, I guess you would say. I don't know.
Bad Batch?
Well, Bad Batch.
The more recent seasons of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That were they definitely sharpened the animation.
Yeah, it's like computer generated anime instead of the cartoon type animation.
Yeah.
But you had started to touch on how we kind of 2 different generations of Star Wars fans, and I said, hold it till we go live. And let me go first here because I was born in 1970. Not to give away my age, but I think most people probably know anyway. I saw Star Wars: A New Hope in the theater and forever changed, the course of my movie-going experience. And I can remember waiting in line in 1980 for The Empire Strikes Back and 1983 for Return of the Jedi. Just, a phenomenal trilogy for a young kid that just really set the tone of science fiction and what science fiction is. And probably, I know there was some science fiction out before, 1977. And even go back to 1977 when George Lucas, before 1974, 1975, 76, when they're filming and producing Star Wars: A New Hope, he was way over budget. He was way over his timeline that he made. The movie was almost sacrificed. It was almost killed because of how much they were over budget and how much longer he was taking to film it. And I think he even raised some money or even pitched in his own money just to get it finished and get it published and and then it just, won the world over. So that's my start. That's my intro to Star Wars and how I got where I'm at. So now you take it.
Well, no, but on that, so yeah, we're dating ourselves. I was born in 86. So obviously the last of the OT, the original trilogy, was Return of the Jedi in 83. So I wasn't alive during that. Fast forward, but I was like, I got into those films before I, can remember anything in life. So I was probably, 3 years old or something like that. But which I'm trying to get to my kid now. My kid's been a Star Wars fan since she was about 3 hours old. But it's interesting because I have learned. I remember. So George Lucas made A New Hope, and we're going to talk about that too. But then, I think after that experience, the over budget, the time, and the whole process, he decided I'm never to make another movie in Hollywood again. And so then he took the profits from A New Hope and pretty much funded Empire Strikes Back, made it himself, and that was sort of the beginning of the divide between, the director and producer that is George Lucas and the rest of Hollywood. At that point, but I remember the original trilogy. I remember Return of the Jedi, like just as a kid, stuck out of me. But when then when the prequels come around, and I was 13 years old, and then 13 years of my life or whatever, I was a Star Wars fan, and then it was back, and I was still like such a young 13 years old. I feel like I was growing up at the time. I wasn't a little kid anymore, so I thought. But truthfully, like that was a profound age to be in '99, and so I loved the prequels. I think now, as an adult, look back on them, and I think there are a lot of criticisms that were fair at the time, but here we are, like embracing them differently again.
The prequels I liked, and so I'm that's 1999 when Phantom Menace comes out, and I'm 29 at the time, but and I think a lot of original Star Wars fans had grown older, of course, over that time. From 1983 to 16, 17 years before the prequel comes out. But you had to remember Star Wars was made for kids. even the original trilogy, what ends up being episode 4, 5, and 6 was made for kids. And really, when I look at it, when you look at Phantom Menace and a lot of people's, gripes about it, it was more made for kids and kind of the intro for that same age group, then. Looking back at it now, and I just watched them again recently coming up to May 4th here. But the biggest gripe I really have about them was how much computer generated scenes and everything they used instead of shooting in the real world, which I did when you go to episode 4, 5, and 6, and New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. They were all shot in the real world. Of course, that was, in the jungle, in the desert, all these different settings. And that's what I did like with 7, 8, 9 is they went back to shooting a lot more in real world environments, although still using some CGI stuff. But that's my biggest gripe when you go watch 1, 2, 3. There's just so much of it that was just computer, shot on a stage.
Yeah.
But
it's funny how practical effects have aged so well relative to early CGI. I mean, it reminds me a lot of old things, automobiles. Like I'm a call petrol head, a car enthusiast, and you think of like all the new cars now with all the screens. The whole experience is dictated by screens. But if you ever drive a car like a sort of like a sports car from 20, 30 years ago, or like 20 years ago, there were screens and they just don't look good. Like it's so bad. I'd rather they don't even have the screen. So like the fully analog cars are cool, in my opinion. So just things age better, and it is fun. Of course, obviously they were updated so many times. George updated the original trilogy, and I actually remember the re-release of the original trilogy in theaters, because that was before the prequels. That was in 96 or 95 or 96. He did the special editions, and those were in theaters, and I saw those as a kid thinking like, wow, I was 10 years old at the time, and I thought, this is what I missed in my lifetime because I wasn't alive, and now I can kind of. It was a really special thing. And I remember feeling now I can sort of connect with the people, like my parents, who saw it and said it was like incredible.
Yeah.
Fitting in 77.
He was able to go back because of the way special effects had improved over the years. He went back. I think it was 97 and 98 when he redid the special editions, and he made it. Greedo shoot first. Han,
it was like
conspiracy. But yeah, I mean, and when he shot Star Wars though, and supposedly, the reason he went with episode 4 first was because he felt with what cameras were able to do at the time and what cinemas were able to do with special effects, that was the best one to start with for telling his story.
Yeah.
Which goes on though, because of Star Wars and the success of it, he creates in ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, which is a George Lucas owned company that does all special effects, and they're still huge. Probably, I don't know if they're one of the hugest or if they're the hugest, but one of the hugest special effects companies.
Yeah, ILM is huge now.
Yeah,
it's just in the industry, as far as I understand. Anyway, shout out to everybody talking about Spaceballs. I just think we forgot about Spaceballs. Have you seen that movie Spaceballs?
Mm-hmm.
That's a classic. The Jewish princess. Gotta give them, says Han shot first. Let's real quick, if you don't mind, because I have all these whiskeys in front of me. I want to pour one of these whiskeys I pulled out.
Real quick, I did start as well. I am drinking from my Scotch Trooper Glencairn. Just a real quick shout out to Scotch Trooper. Everybody watching probably knows, big influencer. Came to be on Instagram shooting Star Wars and whiskey photos. Unfortunately, last year, end of 2020, lost a battle with pancreatic cancer and isn't with us anymore. But I think a really big pusher of Star Wars and whiskey as far as social media goes.
It's funny, and towards the end, I was messaging with Brett, and this was during the Mandalorian season 2 was airing at the time, and I had just finished. No, I'm getting my timeline because I finished in December 2020, and he passed in 2021, February.
All right. Okay. 7th. Yeah. Just a little over a year ago.
February 11th. Because random, it was the same day I lost my dog. It was bad day. Anyway, but I posted some on Instagram with a Bo-Katan bobblehead that I got for my daughter. Just kidding. And I tagged Brett and Katie Sackhoff, who is the woman who plays Bo-Katan in the show. And she retweeted or she reposted or something. And then Brett messaged me and said, he's like, I actually just talked to her. Like she reached out to me because she heard about Brett and everything, you know, his battle with cancer and everything. I thought that was amazing. Anyway, I just think obviously goes to show what the fandom is really like. There's a lot of, you know, people talk about toxicity, but it's just an amazing fandom and community, in my opinion.
Bo-Katan was set up though, you know, in that Clone Wars, the second series of the Clone Wars, and then of course into the Mandalorian. But she's been in several sci-fi space movies and stuff. I think she does a great job.
Man, when she showed up in Mandalorian, like I thought that whole scene was amazing.
Yeah,
and I when the minute I saw her, I was like, oh my god, that's actually Bo-Katan. They brought her in. Like this show is going. That's season 2 of Mando. Is like they really started bringing in some obviously canonical bits at the time, but also sort of bringing in some Legends material into it. Anyway, Bo-Katan was not Legends; she was canon. But I was like, this is amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna pour whiskey right now. What's your first one? I'm gonna
move on. And really, this is a great one. If you were in let's say a spaceport in Mos Eisley in a cantina, and you wanted something desert, it would be spicy and dry.
That's what I said. Wait, I said that the other day, and you're okay.
But yeah, good call. Anyway, this is a bottle I just picked up. It was last year or probably the end of 2020. It was before I got on with the society, and this is a good lesson. This is one I purely bought on name. It was a distillery I've never had, a profile that I normally didn't buy, and only because it was titled.
Oh, that's your one. Yeah.
Good Cop, Bad Cop.
Yeah.
And this one, it was a phenomenal release, and I mean, it taught me what the SMWS is about, and that's removing the distillery name. You know, it's about trying the whiskey and not even necessarily just sticking with flavor profiles that you know, but you know, branching out and trying these different things. So this was purely a whiskey that I just bought on name. Good Cop, Bad Cop. I loved it and was blown away by the whiskey. And I'll pour a little bit of it.
So I'm going to go with whiskey that was released. I want to say 2016 or 2017. I was just a member at the time. Not just a member, everybody. No offense. I'm just saying I wasn't an employee. And it's, I think to date been, if I had to pick one whiskey, like one Desert Island Society bottle, it would be this one. Any guesses what it is? Does anybody have any clue? I'll give you a second. I don't know why you would have a clue, but I'm just thinking. So the whiskey that really I just like lost my mind over was this one. It's Cask 35 point really bright. Can you see 35.179 formula flavor? There we go. It's a 13-year-old from a first fill Chenin Blanc hogshead.
Ooh.
So I tried this whiskey in a lineup of a tasting. It blew my mind. And I think what I realized then was, I mentioned the sound effects here. By the way, I have about half left, and I haven't had this whiskey in about 3 years. So I don't really, a lot's happened in 3 years.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what it's like. But I just remember this is the most like seductive. Reminded me of like a Parisian hotel with like a little bit of cigarette ash and sweat from the night before, dried sweat and crushed velvet and just like total muskiness. Oh, so yeah. So cheers, everybody.
A little bit ago, E Pluribus Newman asked, while you are pouring, can we get some insight on the festival releases? That'll be up to Ben what he can say or not.
Yeah, we can't say anything yet, but we're a few days away. We're a few days away from it all. Festival season is starting next week. Actually, on Tuesday will be the first release. So we'll be back. Wait, is that right? Am I good? It's right, isn't it? Next week?
Next Monday night we'll preview the. Can we say which ones are when yet?
Well, the whole schedule will be dropping tomorrow. So I'd say hold on a little bit, but
We can say there's 2 release. Can we? Well,
Put it this way:
they're spread out over the next 3 weeks.
we've got special festival bottlings for all 5 regions.
Yeah,
which is the first time we've ever done that. It's going to be a different approach to festival bottlings this time around. And we'll be doing 5 streams previewing all the releases. So it'd be 5 nights, and we'll spread that out over the next 3 weeks. It's going to be festivals. So 2 festival releases the first week, then 1 the second one, then 2 the following one. Yeah.
And now E Pluribus Newman says, please say no lottery. I don't believe lotteries are involved in any of the releases.
No, I think we've not this time. Last year everything was a lottery, but this time we took a different approach.
Right, good cop, bad cop.
By the way, Kyle Cummins just said this. I almost picked this whiskey myself. Enjoying 93.128 Smoke and Smugglers seem fitting. Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was the Campbelltown Festival release from 2020. It's a 17-year-old from the oily and coastal flavor profile. That was by far from my most enjoyable festival release of 2020. Actually, next to that one, I think that we had in Indy together, but maybe that's one of yours.
Spicy and dry for a desert spaceport cantina.
This one predates the flavor profiles, but it would probably be, or at least I think they existed. They just weren't printed on the bottles. They were sort of on the website. This would probably be deep rich in dried fruits, I would guess, but not like a sherry. It's a Chenin Blanc, white wine. I think white wine is just a fantastic cask. Probably my preferred cask type for any whiskey, just because the flavors that you get are nothing like what you would expect white wine to give you.
Even that color, I wouldn't expected that was a white wine. I mean, it looks like a sherry hue.
Yeah. French oak.
So I'm going to jump the timeline here a little bit and go from episode 4, A New Hope, the original 1977, to I don't remember what the name is, episode 7. That's why I said we'll briefly touch on 7, 8, 9. I've watched different.
The Force Awakens. The Force
Awakens. Yeah.
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens. I love. Okay. So, just a few years ago, they're going to do the end of the trilogy, 7, 8, 9. 7 comes out. It's The Force Awakens. I loved being in the theater, having Star Wars back, seeing Han Solo, seeing Chewbacca, seeing the Millennium Falcon flying again, C-3PO, R2-D2, Princess Leia, everybody's back. But it was a retelling of episode 4, A New Hope. That I just kept thinking through it. It's like, is this all they could really come up with? We started out on a desert planet where they were pursuing a droid that had hidden information in it. And a force-sensitive person, it's someone that had the force in them, Rey. And we end with the battle of another bigger Death Star and a trench run.
Yeah.
And there was so many similarities to episode 4. I'm like, did they just redo, A New Hope? But I loved seeing everybody back, and the feeling, all that. We hadn't seen, Han and Chewie together in the Millennium Falcon since 1983,
Right.
So that was great. I was just sitting there thinking the whole time. And then when they started with the new Death Star, the planet that had been turned into the planet killer, and they're planning the deal, I'm thinking it's another Death Star. And then they're doing the trench run again. And I'm like, they're doing a trench run? I'm like, who came up with this? Is this all the best they could do?
There were some moments. That was December 2015, right? I remember I was in Bangkok and I saw it the day it came out in Bangkok, which, man, that's how people were going crazy for Star Wars. People were dressed up in the theater. First of all, Asian movie theaters are like gigantic. So I got to see them, the biggest screen I've ever seen in my life. And I was just blown away, by it. And then I did have to really kind of think about it a little bit afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
The spectacle, it looked good. And I think, the CGI was great.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, all right, we're back, baby. There were some moments in that film that well, first of all, I walked away thinking, we talked about not getting into this topic too much, but I thought Daisy Ridley was great at the beginning. I kind of liked the character of Rey until she defeated Kylo in the lightsaber duel. I'm like, it's the first movie that she's in. It's a little too soon. But I liked her because I was like, okay, this is total. Maybe because the nostalgia got me. It was a replay. And then I really started thinking about it. I was like, okay, that's kind of like the replay. Come on. But I think J.J. Abrams, I've seen interviews with him, or one specific interview when he talked about this and basically said like that was exactly the objective. Get people back on board, like win trust, which I understood, from a business standpoint for Disney, who just acquired Lucasfilm, that they probably had to do that. Prove to people that we can do Star Wars, but I just think it was a little lazy to assume that we just wanted the, like what and I guess this is a great question. We haven't talked about, but what does Star Wars mean to you? And I'm most curious too about everybody in chat. If you want to drop a quick comment, like what is it? And I think this is a challenge in carrying on the franchise, is because to a lot of general audiences, or at least in the minds of Disney, Star Wars is, subverting expectations, or the I am your father movement, which has totally shook the audience, but the special effects, which were amazing at the time. But for me, like that was cool as a kid. But I think the story and the overall themes and the redemption story, the tragedy of Darth Vader and the redemption, the father, the son, the choosing friendship, learning how to work with friends, like the life lessons, the general opera of it all. It's pretty classic, but it's true, and I think that really resonates for kids. Anyway, I don't even know what my question was.
What does Star Wars mean to you, basically?
Well, yeah, and I think to have a carbon copy for episode 7 and think like Star Wars fans just want us to do this. I was excited for the Rey just because it's a classic David and Goliath story of this farm boy Luke Skywalker who becomes a Jedi and to take on the Emperor. Doesn't really beat the Emperor himself, but and then they had Rey. I was like, wow, here's a character. Also, she's a female, and I think she's going to sort of probably have just as other women generally do have different challenges out there in society. She's going to rise up. Problem was, I think she rose up a little too quickly, and then she was invincible basically. But I don't know.
I did like it when Kylo Ren had her captured and she was strapped to the chair and was going to be interrogated, and she was able to turn the tables and get into his brain. And she was like, she started calling him out basically. And you remember the look on his face? He was like, whoa. I did like that. That was a pretty good moment, I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was real quick. Yeah. But, you come to find out. And there's going to be some spoilers here, people. But if you haven't watched these movies yet, whatever.
Everything.
It ends up being Palpatine's granddaughter. So,
yeah. Well,
but for someone that's never had supposedly all this training took years and years to do. Unless you're Palpatine's granddaughter, I guess.
So just focusing on the films. So which films going back into? Maybe we move on from the topic we said we went into on too much gripes with some films, and I saw a comment again.
I think we're still keeping it positive. I think we wanted this to be a positive, chat and talk,
But Scott says, thankfully we have the new series, and I agree. They've just been fantastic. Some may be more impressive than others, whatever. I'm personally loving the direction of the series, and of course Obi-Wan trailer dropped today, and I think I couldn't be more excited for that, and the implications that could have on Star Wars, which is big, kind of like you were talking about, like Rogue One, kind of like how Rogue One enhanced the story of A New Hope, or the very first scene of A New Hope. I mean, it leads right up into 2 minutes before A New Hope begins. And all of a sudden, this little thing about like this sort of, not a loophole in the story, but you fire like a little torpedo into a hole and you blow up the whole Death Star. Like the fact that they gave such meaning behind that in such a compelling story, I loved the movie Rogue One. So I hope this show does that to the prequels and to the tragedy of Darth Vader. But I hope they don't screw it up.
You're talking Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau that's been directing The Mandalorian and then the Boba Fett series. But yeah, they've done a good job They kind of got the reins handed to them, I think, and said, run with it, and just doing phenomenal work. But so let's back up though. Let's get back to our timeline from Star Wars to Empire Strikes Back. What I can remember seeing it in the theater, and of course the reveal of Darth Vader, being his father was I was 10 at the time. That was mind blowing. And you didn't have social media then, so you didn't have spoilers. People didn't really know unless you had friends that saw the movie before you. But I had not heard that before I saw it in the movie theater, and that was just such a pivotal. I was like, what? I was like, no.
You think that was the best movie, Empire? That seems to be the fan favorite.
But I don't know. That's hard to tell. It's hard to get away from the original, from A New Hope, 1977, the one that set the stage and
so that's to you. That's the film that probably stands out as A New Hope. Your favorite. If you had to pick a favorite.
Yeah. But of course, dated now when you watch it, you're like, wow. And there's a fan-made movie of what, I don't know if you've seen it. It's on YouTube, or not a fan-made movie, a fan-made clip of what Obi-Wan fighting Darth Vader on the Death Star would look like nowadays. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it was really well done.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It just kind of sped it up, and it looked like more aligned with.
Probably what an actual battle between two of the most powerful Jedis, would look like.
Well, we're about to see that, evidently. That's the direction they're going to go with the show. But yeah, Empire, people think that that's the best film. A lot of people, people have different opinions.
Yeah. Empire Strikes Back though too was at that time a sequel. Each movie wrapped itself up, and then you had Empire Strikes Back comes out. It was the second movie, and I don't remember if there was really talk then, or if anybody knew, hey, there's going to be 3 of these, but you had Star Wars, A New Hope. Empire Strikes Back comes out 3 years later, and it ends with Luke finding out Darth Vader's his father. His hand has been cut off. Han Solo is frozen in carbonite and taken away by Boba Fett. And that was the end of the movie. And you're just like,
yeah,
what the hell's going on here? What just happened?
Yeah.
That was it. You had to wait 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
To, for the follow-up.
Yeah, when I watched those as an adult, I do think that movie was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that one stands up. That was darker and different director and everything was different about it. Return of the Jedi was the one that. Well, anyway, I don't want to jump. We can jump ahead, but I just think there's some fantastic movies. I think Empire probably. You told me it took a big thing and made it even bigger. Really, that's one of the few sequels to any original blockbuster film that people can unequivocally say are we'll say is just as good as the first one, if not more.
Yeah. I think that's a struggle always for sequels to live up to the first one. But
Steve Balzac says, I really like the almost ceremonial nature of the lightsaber duel in New Hope. It feels almost ritualized. That's a good point. The fact that it's slower paced and there's more thought in it behind it. And, of course, Obi-Wan takes the moment where he pauses to reflect or whatever before he becomes one with the Force. And then Vader doesn't immediately strike him down. He lets them take a pause. It's kind of and I like Steve's point looking at it that way, that it's sort of ceremonial, ritualistic, in a way. Ritualized is what he said.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And then, Matthew says probably about Empire. Remember Leia's connection to Luke was also highlighted when Luke's hanging down in Cloud City in Bespin. He's hanging down from that sort of antenna, and then Leia's in the Millennium Falcon. You're right. And then they actually connect, and that's how they find him. That was a big moment in that.
But see, even at that when Luke was on Dagobah getting trained, and he leaves his training early because he senses his friends are in danger. And he leaves, and Obi-Wan's spirit is there talking to Yoda. And I think this was kind of a flub, because I think it's Yoda tells Obi-Wan, or Obi-Wan says that boy is our only hope, our last hope.
Yeah.
And Yoda tells him, no, there is another. Which at that point you didn't really catch. You didn't really think about it. You're like, well, who is the other? What's the other hope? Is there, what's going on? You didn't think about there being a sister.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he just kissed her in the
Yeah.
in the previous film, right? So she's rich, you know.
I guess you didn't see what happened in the back hallway when she expressed her true love for me.
Yeah, that was that moment, you know, because in the film Vader just reveals his relationship to Luke. That's the big moment of the entire franchise. But you're right. Just after that, Leia and Luke have this connection, and then the film kind of ends right after that too. And so that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
So good shout out, Matthew.
Yeah, and I suppose the only thing they didn't think about, which, you know, okay, I'll go back to episode 4, A New Hope. At the end, a big fan pet peeve is that Chewbacca didn't get a medal at the ceremony for blowing up the Death Star,
and he didn't get a hug in The Force Awakens.
What?
He didn't get a hug in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, and Leia walked by him.
Yeah,
but they should have just said, "Hey, look, sorry, we didn't really think about it at the time. He was a Wookiee. He wasn't, a human, and we didn't think about giving him a medal. We should have." But
it's so true that we're in different times. Like that wouldn't happen,
In 1977, Wookiees didn't get medals. Quick trivia question: what planet are Wookiees from?
Am I included in these?
Yeah. Do you? Let's give everybody. Do you know?
Oh, yeah, Kashyyyk.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Duh, guys, come on. I mean, come on.
The thing is, though, there's a lot of things with me. If I don't think about it for a while, I'll just forget about it. You could trivia me on some stuff, and I might be like, "Gosh darn, I forgot. What was it?" I may think, but yeah. So there could be some things that you may just not remember, but you would remember. If it was multiple choice, you'd know for sure. There you go, Kyle Cummings and Josh Pence, Scott Friedland. Scott's close. Tom R says that's good.
I think there are. Hold on, I just spilled all my water.
Oh, I've been waiting for that to happen with me because it's always sitting right by my computer.
All right, BRB.
All right, well, Kashyyyk is the correct answer there. Not sure on the spelling. I would make that a trivia question and for a $50 gift card, but I don't even. Steve is probably close with the spelling. Josh, Kyle, Kashyyyk is what it is. Yeah. Which was Chewbacca was actually introduced in episode 3 with the new prequels, Revenge of the Sith, or no, Attack of the Clones. Sorry, episode 2. Yoda had to go to Kashyyyk to help them against the Trade Federation.
And then he says,
"Or no, that was episode.
Darful.
That was episode. That was episode 3 because that was when the clones are issued.
Yeah, that scene was badass.
Yeah,
when during Order 66, all the Jedi are being murdered, and then you see Yoda, and like obviously Yoda survives, but still there's a moment of tension. I love that film, by the way. And then Yoda just turns around and slices off their head. It's a lightsaber. And then the Wookiees look at each other. And then he jumps on Chewbacca's back. Kind of weird, like seeing Yoda and Chewbacca. You're like, come on. The universe is like so big. You have to keep getting these characters to interact like before the films. But whatever.
Gregory Cloyd has a life goal for me right there. He says, just back from Orlando with the grandkids. Star Wars at Universal is outstanding.
Nice. Yeah, I went as a kid, and then I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge yet. But
Star Wars data bank for the spelling is
it's a 3 Ys. 3 Ys. Okay.
So let's go to Return of the Jedi. We've been through Empire Strikes Back, now Return of the Jedi.
I'm going to finish this dram too, and
this was, we had talked briefly just about some of the non-canon stories, which means anything outside of the official timeline. There were a lot of books written about what happens after Return of the Jedi. There were books written about stuff that happens in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. One of the series that I read many years ago was Rogue Squadron, which was Wedge. Wedge is present. Wedge Antilles is one of the pilots, and he's in all three of the. He's in episode 4, 5, and 6. Wedge, actually, but he was part of Rogue Squadron, and there was a series of books written on Rogue Squadron and some of their adventures that they had that took place in between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, if I remember right. I think leading up to Hoth. But
fun fact, the actor who I think he played Wedge Antilles in A New Hope has a nephew who is also in the Star Wars franchise. Who is he?
Ooh, do 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 do. George Lucas's daughter or granddaughter and grandson were in the original or the prequels as well, episodes 1, 2, and 3. I don't remember what their character names were, but
well,
I can picture them.
Kyle Cummins got it right. Ewan McGregor. Yeah, so Dennis Lawson's the actor who played Wedge.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, he's from Crieff, which is where Glenturret is in Scotland. And then his nephew is Ewan McGregor.
Huh.
So, yeah, so Ewan had a tie-in to Star Wars growing up. It was his uncle in a minor role. Rogue Squadron, there was also the video game for Nintendo 64 called Rogue Squadron, and it was fantastic, I thought. As a kid, I played all the game. I'm still kind of a gamer, but
didn't you start out on Hoth with the snow speeders on that one, having to circle around the AT-ATs?
Yeah, yeah. And then there's like the Imperial Junkyards level is pretty good. all the games of the last 30 years. I think I played it pretty much every one for a little too much time. I'm still playing Battlefront 2 on occasion.
I didn't get into Josh Pence's comment that he did the Thrawn trilogy, the New Jedi Order.
Thrawn trilogy is great. Darth Bane is also really good. I'm trying to think of what else really stood out to me.
I really didn't do too many. There was 1 or 2 books on Darth Vader hunting down the Jedi that happened in between what would be episode 3 and episode 4. There was a 1 or 2 book series on that was pretty good as well.
I'm going to move on to my second whiskey. Well, third whiskey. How about you? Are you about there?
I am. Yep. I'll let you go first.
This is such a different experience. We're just hanging out. I
like it.
This is kind of like a normal hangout. We're not no pressure to fit 6 grams in the hour. Oh, it's guys, it's a rough life. I know. I'm complaining. No, but really, we can just kind of pull some whiskey. So what's your next one?
This one was out to, let's see here if it says. This was a tasting panel experience for America. This was a USA exclusive cask. 30.111. A 12-year-old.
Ooh.
Named.
Yeah.
You felt that one coming. Inferno Toffee Pudding.
Fun fact, I found that image on Shutterstock.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of years ago.
This is just delicious.
There's a series of the tasting panel experience bottles from their first round that I just picked up the images from Shutterstock. We had a interest of time. We couldn't work with our UK team who does all of it. We had to hurry up, and so the baking on a bonfire was like a burning brush on the forest floor or something like that. Wow, yeah, that whiskey's great.
Look at the color on that.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually have a sherry bomb as well. That's the direction you're going. This is your kind of, when I think of you and your whiskey interest, this is what I think your preferred style is, the sherry bomb. Is that still the case? Would you still? Is it you sort of?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
That hasn't changed yet.
No.
My next one is this little thing. This is our first Vaults collection bottle that we ever.
Oh, that's kind of a Star Wars themed name. Meeting an Old Master.
Yeah, kind of. 24.129.
Oh, wow.
27-year-old macaroni and cheese.
I bet that was probably a little cheaper than what 24s go for nowadays.
I think at the time, this is 2017, we released this one. It was like $1,200, $1,300.
Yeah. I mean,
this one spent 25. It was a 25-year-old Oloroso sherry butt from Distillery 24. And then we transferred it into a first fill PX butt for 2 more years, which is kind of a rare thing. And I still have half a bottle left. So Scott, you got to come back to Tennessee.
Oh yeah. Real quick, different, a little bit of a different topic here, science fiction, but Donner Pass Whiskey just watched the final episodes of The Expanse last night. Best sci-fi I've seen on TV since Battlestar reboot. That is an excellent series. I don't know if you've watched that, Ben.
I have not.
Oh, that's definitely worth it. It was started, I think it was the Science Fiction Channel. Started that, in the first 2 seasons were on the Science Fiction Network channel, and then Amazon bought it, and the final, I think there's 5 seasons, maybe 6 seasons of it, but it's a really great series. Ooh, Inferno toffee pudding nose is just phenomenal. I poured a heavy dram here to show the color. I'm going to pour a little bit back in the bottle just because I don't need to drink this much of it. I need to save this one.
This piece of cork in my glass.
So this one didn't indicate. This was before, or this was, so it had, this was the American release exclusive, and you had the picture on there. You didn't have the cask details on this one, so I don't know if I ever knew what it was.
12 years, first fill Spanish oak sherry butt.
Ooh.
Yeah, full term.
No wonder.
Yeah. What was it? The luscious, silky, sensual. What was the whiskey that we had the other night?
Yeah.
I can't remember what the name of it was. Luscious. Yeah, there it is up there. Luscious,
luscious, silky, and sensuous.
Scott Bruno.
That's right. That's me, baby. Yeah. Donner Pass Whiskey is saying it's all on. Yeah, the whole series now is on Amazon Prime, but with the Expanse. But the first 2 seasons were just shot for the sci-fi channel, and then Amazon bought them. But they're all on Amazon now. It's a great series. All right, we need to do Return of the Jedi. That's where we were moving to. We're actually a little bit behind schedule here. Do you want to keep going? You want to do Return of the Jedi here for a little bit?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize we even had a schedule. So yeah, I'm available. I've moved my pillow into the guest bedroom because I assumed I'm going to just not even wake anybody up. I'm going to go from a Star Wars whiskey talk to bed, whatever time that is. But I wake up super early, so it's not going to be that late. Return of the Jedi, man. I just, as a kid, that was it for me. And I still watch the scene at the end, like on YouTube often. Like there's some movies, like I'll watch this as a clip of like randomly, and I'll just want to remember what it's like to see Vader, throw the Empire down that shaft.
Save us.
Before he's cloned and comes back in another way and has some kids. And anyway, and before they added the no when he's doing that, but kind of kill it to me. But that scene right there, I just thought it was just fantastic. That's why I think I'm still into Star Wars. Or it is the tragedy of Darth Vader and the lessons that come with that, but also Luke's decision and the fact that Luke is not really the hero. I mean, he is a hero, but he's the catalyst for Anakin to sort of not maybe redeem himself or to fulfill the prophecy, which that's a big debate too. Was Anakin Skywalker redeemed? Was he still in there? Did he truly die in the Revenge of the Sith? And that's, do you have an opinion on that at all? Do you think, I guess a common sort of debate on the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, in Return of the Jedi, when he
Oh,
He comes back, takes his mask off right before he dies.
yeah.
I always view that as he sort of redeems himself, or he fulfills the prophecy of the chosen one.
That's what I've said too later on. I was like, well, he does. He
yeah,
the Sith.
But a lot of people still were like adamant of the fact, and I respect his opinion too, but that Anakin truly died in Revenge of the Sith. And I think that's what Obi-Wan, the show, is going to explore. I'm really curious about that, because right now, of course, they're filling in plot holes and the best they can. A lot of answers to the questions that are asked, like why did certain people do certain characters do certain things in the original trilogy? Because there was no prequels, there was no expanded universe or anything.
Yeah,
but it will be interesting to see how they handle this. What does Obi-Wan truly know about Anakin or Vader before he brings Luke? They leave Tatooine. Was he really sort of lying to him, or did he really believe that Anakin couldn't be redeemed, or did he actually think he could and was playing I'm really eager to see where, what I mean? Like that whole point, the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin or Vader, and then Luke, is he sheltering him, or does he truly believe these things? Because in which case, if anyway, I'm just
I was just watching that again, and I paid attention to watch that scene in episode 3 when Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting. But after Obi-Wan strikes him down, cuts off his legs, his other arm, and he's laying there, and Obi-Wan's going on about how he was his brother and he loved him, and Anakin basically reaches some of the lava, gets on him, lights his clothes on fire, and he burns up. And Obi-Wan walks away at that point, and I think he probably thought he was dead or was going to die, probably from the fire. But I mean, he'd said he couldn't. He had told Yoda, he's like, I can't kill Anakin. So I think he thought he was dead at that point.
I guess I didn't mean like in the physical sense. But I meant just like the spirit of Anakin.
Right.
He's lost it.
I think he did. I think Obi-Wan, rewatching that scene, I think Obi-Wan did finally give up on him. He was through that. I think through the fight, he was still thinking maybe he could get him back. But he just, through the fight and the things that Anakin was saying, he finally realized that the Sith had taken over.
Yeah. I put this up. I'll put it against Steve Balzac says some bit of Anakin was still there. That's what Luke was able to reach. I mean, that's what I think so too. I'd like that to be the case, because I think if anything, if you look at sort of the direction of the storytelling today compared to 40 years ago, the lines between good and evil are more blurred than ever before. And I think that's probably Star Wars is becoming relatable to society today, which like it or hate it, but whatever. But I do think that's true, that Anakin was still there. And I'm interested to see, because like the Obi-Wan show is be 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. Okay. So at a point where the character of Darth Vader is, his suit, he obviously he's like a miserable. He's in misery. That's all you hear about Vader from the expanded universe. He's in such misery from the end of Revenge of the Sith. He gets the suit. He hates it. He hates Palpatine. Obviously, Padme's dead. He's in a complete agony. Palpatine constructed this suit to be deliberately painful for him, so it brings out his pain. And I think, but some are speculating, and I hope this is the case, that maybe Anakin hasn't truly died in Revenge of the Sith. Maybe there's still some of them in there, even 10 years after. So maybe what we'll see in the show, this is kind of what I'd like to see, is more of that internal psychological struggle of like trying to trying to still hold on. And
I could see that.
You know what I mean? Versus just like, because we also know, like at this time though too, he's also the character you learn from the books and whatnot and comics. He's like just slaughtering everybody. He's like this. He is as evil as it gets at the stage. But to know that there's still that conflict, I think would be
well. And I remember though too, I thought that the other series I'd read was Darth Vader hunting down the Jedi in between episode 3 and 4. It was happened in between episode 5 and 6, The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, because Luke was completing his Jedi training, and Darth Vader was trying to find him to turn him to his side to overthrow the Emperor and then still help him. The two of them rule the galaxy, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a good series though too, or good. I don't remember if it was 1 book or 2 books, but I mean, that was good on Darth Vader's hunt to try to find him. Which is where Return of the Jedi opens up on Tatooine. Luke has finished his Jedi training. I'm not sure if that's clear how yet, or how much of that was canon and wasn't. But Luke shows up at Jabba's palace. Leia's there, Lando's there, R2, C3PO, Chewie. He gets the gang back together. They free Han Solo. Boba Fett ends up in the pit of the Sarlacc. And now we have the Boba Fett series from there. But
Luke's entrance into Jabba's palace is amazing. Yeah. That really was a spectacular moment. Yeah. When he's got the black robe, more like black and brown, which I also like. Anakin had sort of darker robes in Revenge of the Sith. There's a lot of tie. I like Revenge of the Sith a lot, but that was a pretty amazing moment,
Ooh. Inferno toffee pudding is magnificent.
Gregory says, when the sci-fi subject can hijack whiskey, geeking up big time. Yeah, man, I'm this whiskey. I haven't had this in a couple of years. I just try to make one of these last, but this meeting an old master, so appropriate for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Yeah.
Good question from Steve Balzac. So here's a Return of the Jedi question. What was the original plan to rescue Han?
Oh,
I don't know. Or I don't remember if I did.
I don't think I remember either, Steve.
I'm
sorry. He's just asking in the beginning when Luke came in. Right, Steve? When Luke came in, he tried to use a Jedi mind trick on Jabba and just basically say, give me the prisoner, basically.
Well, yeah, but he wouldn't know. He would know. He'd set up. He knew R2-D2 they'd be taken out on the desert skiff, and R2-D2 would have to shoot him his lightsaber. That was all kind of planned ahead. So I think he knew where it was going. There must have been a plan before that one was hatched. Because, he'd put Chewie in there. He'd put Lando. Leia was in there. All the supporting cast was there.
So Leia, yeah, that's interesting. So Leia went to rescue him.
Oh, there you go. So I guess, he doesn't know. He's just saying, it seems like whatever the plan was, it went wrong, but it's really hard to figure out what would have happened if it went right. No, I think that was the plan, how Luke planned it. I think he had foreseen it. Because like I say, he'd set up R2-D2 to have his lightsaber hidden. He knew they would be on the skiff, as helper droids now.
Right.
He knew that Han would be there, Lando would be there all to help him. I think that was the plan. I don't know if there was one before that, but I think his plan.
So you think Luke intended to be captured?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah. I think so.
I've never really thought about that.
Yeah. I think he had foreseen. That's why he was able to put the pieces together, and he had everybody there and where they would be at the time.
Do you think that was truly the intent of George Lucas, or was it just was it not thought out?
No, I think it was. I don't know. I've never heard. I guess I've always looked at it that way. That's the way I'd kind of interpreted it. That Luke knew what would happen and where they would end up, and that he would need R2-D2 to shoot him the lightsaber, because when he's standing out there and he's got his bindings on and he's on the plane.
Yeah.
He looks at R2-D2 and he nods his head and he's like, now, So R2-D2 gives him the lightsaber.
Yeah, you don't see the lightsaber before that, right? That's the first time you see his green lightsaber. So, So it's not like he was captured, because he was dropped in the Rancor pit first, and then defeated the Rancor.
Yeah,
and then they got him, and he didn't have his lightsaber for the Rancor battle, so he clearly R2 had it before then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just use the lightsaber. So that's a really good point. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did solve something.
Yeah. That's, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of tripping out right now.
You have to go back and watch it now and see, aren't you?
Oh, well, no, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that I need to rewatch that, but I feel like we know it scene by scene. But
he'd planned. Lando was in there as a palace guard. Yeah. He was wearing the mask or the helmet.
Oh yeah.
Leia went in as
the uncomfortable mask of all time. With
yeah. Leia goes in as the bounty hunter with Chewbacca as her prisoner, so he's able to get both of them in there.
But she goes in there first. Right?
I think C-3PO and R2-D2 were first. Yeah, C-3PO and R2-D2. They're the opening scene at Jabba's palace. They walk up to the door. Remember, it opens up. They go in.
Yeah,
and then
the
fact is, they say Luke sent us as gifts,
right?
Basically. And then C-3PO's like, "What? What is that? What he said?" And then he takes them and makes them servants.
That's right. So Luke sent them. You're right. Wow, this is amazing. but then Leia, was she part of that plan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she went in there, she got Han out, and then she knew she was going to be captured too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if she knew it or not.
So you think the plan was then just to have this sort of battle from inside of Jabba's palace and have a team on the ground?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That Luke couldn't just. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
Because Luke would have been searched for weapons on the way in.
Yeah.
But he just strangled the Gamorrean guards.
Yeah.
He force choked them. I don't think he.
Yeah, he mind tricks them. And do you remember Jabba's first-hand man?
Bib Fortuna.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, was that? I'm sorry. Was that the trivia?
That was another trivia. Yeah. Fact is, we ought to do something to give away.
Wonka.
Let me think of a trivia.
You serve your master well.
Oh, you fool! He's using an old Jedi mind trick.
Yeah. Yeah. We should have that running.
Let me think of a trivia question right quick. We can throw it everybody for a $50 gift card.
Let's
What? Okay, I've got it.
I got one too. Yeah. How about this? Let's do this, guys. We are going to be doing 20.
I've got to put the answer. I've got to put the answer in before you give the question. I got to know the question and the answer.
Let's just say we'll do $25 gift cards so that we can do more of them and give more people chances to win. I would say
that's more for me to track, but okay.
Yeah, well, and then Scott will have one dram for every tribute.
You can. So just send me in our comments that we can do back and forth on StreamYard. Send me or do private chat. We've got a private chat over here. I'm going to tell you what my first question will be, or the first answer.
You mean through YouTube?
No, in StreamYards. I just sent you over there to the right hand side.
Me? Oh,
yeah. Go to private chat. I just sent you what my first question will be. You'll know the question.
But can we do these? Can we do the answers? The pick winners on the first to respond?
No. We'll do the random drawing.
Okay.
Again, I like it because there's too much when you do the first. I mean, because of the time lag and people show different. I was first or so and so. It just depends. But first, this is for a $25 gift card. You like that? You know what question's coming?
What's the question?
Did you see the comment I sent you?
Yeah, that's the answer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, you know what that is. What planet was Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting on when Obi-Wan won and cut off Anakin's legs and arm?
The name of the planet.
Name of the planet. Fighting. I don't think we've said it. So this would have to be, people would have to be in though. Now you've got to comment with the correct answer. You're entered. If you answer 10 times, you're only entered one time. And then there's a random drawing. I'll share my screen. I can do that now. I fixed my computer. I updated it.
Easy, people. It's right there. Boom.
Just the name, Duke. Don't put planet in there.
It's pretty wild that Vader builds his castle on that planet.
Yeah, that's where he ends up.
Because that's sort of just brings out the most pain and misery.
Yeah.
And
watching
hatred. Yeah.
Rogue One, when Director Krennic goes to visit him, he's on Mustafar.
Director. Oh, he's
about
Director Krennic. Yeah. Direct. My apologies. You have a great many things to explain. Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director. So you'll tell the Emperor about me. Next up, for the next 30 minutes, we're just going to kind of just recite lines. All right, enough of that trivia question. I think we got enough from the.
Are we ready to draw?
Sure. Yeah, you draw.
All right. Hopefully this works now. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see the giveaway now. Correct answer. Can you see that? Is it showing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we draw. It goes through this randomizer. It starts to slow down, and then it says, KLG223, $25 gift card.
I saw Steve Ball. I thought it was going to end on Steve Balzac like 5 times. Sorry, Steve. Look at the next one. I switched over the last second. Mustafar. I wonder if we'll see that in Obi-Wan. We saw it in the Rise of Skywalker, the first scene. Oh, don't even get me started on that. The fact that the Rise of Skywalker opens on Mustafar, and it's just Kylo Ren in a forest, and like there's no context. They don't tell you it's Mustafar, but it is, and it's just like they just use.
I don't know if I realized that.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. You have to kind of like read up into it further to learn this, but that's Mustafar, and because he's hunting like a Sith artifact, or he's looking for a Sith artifact, right? Or what is it, the holocron or whatever that he gets?
Yeah.
And so it's on Mustafar in a forest.
Huh. See, I'd never read up on that.
Right. They just totally,
Huh. Interesting. I mean, I had kind of wondered what that was. Now, see, here's the deal, though, too. So, of course, big fan, 70s, 80s, when episode 4, 5, and 6 were out. I've collected a lot of the collectibles, toys, figures, and stuff from that era. Episode 1, 2, and 3, I had young kids. Both my boys were young. They grew up with that. I was still buying, the toys and different figures, collectibles, and stuff like that, but gave up. I finally had to quit during Attack of the Clones because I was just getting way too much stuff. And I'd buy a toy for the kids and I'd buy one for myself to keep.
How old are your kids at that age?
Just like 6, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot of the characters and the places just from the toys and knowing the backstories and figuring this out, doing that, reading up on them and stuff. When 7, 8, and 9 came out, I'm way older. My kids are grown and gone. I didn't read coming up to the movies. I didn't read anything because I didn't want any spoilers. I wanted to go into the movies, blind and really just experience them. And I didn't spend a lot of time really researching and I haven't been buying all the toys and the collectibles and that stuff with them. So I don't know a lot of the side stories, or the side characters and stuff like that with the newer ones. But yeah.
Well, there really wasn't much. You didn't really miss much because Disney rendered everything like non-canon and all the expanded universe. So you know what I mean? So there wasn't, I think most of us went into there was a novelization that came out around the same time that explained more, but everybody went into Force Awakens not really knowing, like what was even possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's your favorite, let's say top 3 favorite Star Wars scenes of all time? And not just necessarily like the scene itself was cool, but in terms of the the impact it had on the franchise and just yourself as a fan, what were like the most epic moments?
Boy, that's a good one. I'd have to think on that. I mean, several. I mean, just from the original trilogy, you've got several. Of course, Darth Vader revealing that he's the father probably has to be top three. You've got to have one just from the first of either Luke blowing up the Death Star, or Obi-Wan fighting, Darth Vader again. Going past that, I'm trying to think. Looking at the prequels, Anakin, to me, the turning of Anakin happened way too quick. It was pretty much, I mean, he showed a little agitation in Attack of the Clones, and then in episode 3, all of a sudden, he just went from, any resemblance of good to all of a sudden Palpatine's puppet. I thought that happened too quick. I don't know that I'd really say, except for maybe when Obi-Wan and him are fighting on Mustafar and Obi-Wan strikes him down. That could be maybe one of the top threes.
That whole duel was epic.
Yeah.
I didn't really. This wasn't on my own little list in my head, but the battle of the heroes, like that duel, said the Darth Maul saber fight. That was too. Like at the time in '99, just the double double-bladed lightsaber was huge.
Yeah, but I mean, we went from the lightsaber battles in 77, 80, and 83. They were a little bit more, stagnant, didn't move around as much and whatnot. Then all of a sudden now with martial arts and all the special effects and everything else, improvements, all of a sudden, we went to that dual-bladed lightsaber with Darth Maul, who was a great freaking Sith. To kill him off in the first episode, I thought was just tragic. He should have been. You went from him to Count Dooku, an 80-year-old man, and you're like, what? This is Darth Maul was much better, I thought.
But
yeah, that lightsaber duel was epic. That was definitely when he pulled that out and was fighting Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan was good.
But I think Darth Maul, outside the films, becomes one of the best characters in Star Wars history, in my opinion. Just his return, he leaves the Sith. He resents the Sith and Palpatine. He's still a dark side user. He rises up to be the rightful ruler of Mandalore. I mean, the whole character arc up until then, and then the last episode of season 7 of the Clone Wars. I mean, if you guys, funny, I didn't really watch the animated shows until a couple of years ago. I had a kid, and my daughter was a newborn, and I found myself having all this time to just rock a sleeping baby on a chair. So I was like, I'll just put my AirPods in, and finally now use the time to catch up. I have all this free time on paternity leave. So I watched them all. I was like, oh my God, the storylines are epic. I didn't realize the writing and everything. The story, but Darth Maul's character, I think, is just fantastic. So at least I think they did him. You're right. They killed him off and go to Dooku, which is a great actor. But he was the Sith assassin, Darth Maul.
Just even the character, just Darth Maul's, makeup, the character that they made him be, and I forget what his race is, where he's from, but just that red and black tattooed face with the horns, on his skull, and you're just like, oh my God, this is a bad dude right here.
Yeah. I think for me, I think I mentioned earlier, it was always the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, at the end, the surprise. It's that was probably my top scene. But I have to say, Luke Skywalker's appearance in the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian was, for me, probably the most profound Star Wars moment. And it was when I was an adult when this one happened. And it was December 2020. And I'm the kind of fan where these shows go on, I'm into theories. I find that just theorizing of what's going to happen in these shows with fans is just as much fun as experiencing them. So I know people. So I just remember thinking, I knew Luke was going to show up eventually, but then as the episode goes down, like, well, they're in space on this ship. He's not showing up. And I totally like forgot about it for 30 minutes. Even though I knew it was like, okay, Luke's flying around there building this new Jedi Order. But when he comes in and I saw that speck of the X-Wing, I cried twice in 2020. One was my first kid was born. The second was this. I was just middle of the night, like 2 a.m, watching this on my iPad. Like, and I was just like bawling like a child because I thought that was so cool after what they did with Luke's character in, The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And, we know Mark Hamill's opinions of that. And then to see that actually Mark Hamill was involved in that, scene. I mean, I was just so happy for Mark. I was just happy to just see everything that we should have had. Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master in his prime. Anyway, that was, I think that was as good as it gets.
Robert G has a good point for a villain of General Grievous. He was a good villain as well. I still struggle with the fact he had collected lightsabers from Jedi that he had killed. I still have a problem with just general people killing Jedis. Mostly doesn't happen. And especially a droid with a human's, important vital organ still intact.
There's still a little law enforcement in you there. I just don't support that sort of criminal activity. Murder of Jedi. Well, what's great, Grievous is an interesting character because they kind of go on beyond the films, but he was an alien species, and then was on an aircraft or on a ship, and Dooku's like basically set off a bomb, and then he was sort of rebuilt as a cyborg and enhanced. But anyway, Grievous is an interesting character.
Yeah. Yep, that was a good villain as well. So did you have you got a second trivia question you want to do real quick? You got I've got one if you don't.
I do.
What's it? Send me, private chat me the answer, and I'll put it into the giveaway tool.
Okay, so my question is, we were talking earlier about Return of the Jedi and the Jabba's palace scene.
Oh wait, I got to have the answer first before
I'm sending it to you.
Okay.
So yeah, so we talked about when Luke walks in, there's the Gamorrean guards, there's Jabba's Major Domo, which is Bib Fortuna. But there's another famous alien species. Well, I won't give you away the species, but there's another famous alien who is a sort of like a monkey lizard character with the most obnoxious laugh.
Kind of a little
Jabba's pet, like a little pet. And yeah, but like more annoying. What is his name?
Had like a beak and big floppy ears.
Yeah.
Looked like
what is his name? What is his name?
He sat there laughing and chuckling the whole time.
I don't know if anyone answered the question before. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's scarily good. Fun fact, in The Mandalorian season 1, I think the first episode, he's walking around Navarro, and you see another one of someone in his species like roasting on a spitfire kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, we got a few. They got it. I'm gonna call a little Google work on that one. I wonder if anyone truly knew that one. If you did, you're in the right place.
It would have taken me up to a minute maybe to remember, but yeah, it's probably one it would have taken me a little bit.
Yeah. I'm going to go on to my next whiskey, by the way.
Good call. The final.
You don't have to keep pace with me if you're enjoying the whiskey.
I had like just the last sip of my Inferno toffee pudding. I've got my third one. There's the color profile.
Scott Freedom says, off the top of my head, geek from birth.
Yeah.
So you got to pick a winner too, right?
Yep.
So which one are you pouring? What's your...
All right. This was a recent one. It's not available anymore. We did a lot of comparisons to this one the other night.
Oh.
This one I thought was just an outstanding whiskey. Rara Avis. This was the 25-year-old finished in Sauternes cask. 112.83. And the color.
All right, I'm going with another one of my old favorites. Oh, that looks, yeah. Oh, that's a Sauterne. See that white wine French oak? It's still kind of blurry, but There you go. Ish. It's dark. It's dark, Scott. We know it's dark. The thing is, I'm going with this old favorite. I have about a third of the bottle left, so it's super oxidized. A number of years ago. This is 29.248. Creaking ships lost in the fog. 21-year-old Isla. I think it was about 20 years in a hogshead, American oak.
What's the cask number on it?
29.248.
Oh, gotcha.
It was then transferred to a second fill X red wine barrique.
Ooh,
for a year.
Wow.
And so fully peated malt that over time, and with a little influence of the wine cask, it's pretty subtle from what I remember. It's actually not even in our peated flavor profile. It's the blue, oily, and coastal. So it just goes to show. And this is just, I think, my favorite name or title of all time.
All right. Ready? Can you see my screen?
Yep. Winner of a $25 gift card is, and you can win multiples, by the way. So Robert G. Congrats, Robert. Again, Steve Balzac was the last. So, come on, Steve. Come on. Steve seems to have all the answers up his sleeve, so there'll be more trivia questions. Robert G, congratulations, my friend.
Robert G, shoot me an email if you don't want to put your real name in the comments. Scott at SMWSA.com. Or you can comment with your real name if you're a member or not. If you're not a member, you can use the $25 gift card towards your membership. Scott at SMWSA.com if you want to email me your real name, official name.
I find it kind of distracting. Rare Avis. You can go to the console. I'm going to bring us back to the cockpit.
All right, let's talk Solo and Rogue One.
Did we finish the prequels? We kind of did.
We've kind of touched on them throughout. We've talked the highlights, I think, of them. And we're on the third whiskey, so we should probably start moving towards.
I told you, man. I have 7 out here. I knew this would happen. I knew.
We can, we did. I mean, we can go through each one. Let's start with the Phantom Menace.
No. We
are an hour and 24 minutes in.
Yeah. I'm just
good.
I'm just being mindful of the fact that I was going to say we don't have to limit ourselves to 3 whiskeys. We don't have to go back in conversation.
I'm good. I can keep talking for a while. So,
but if you want to talk about, I mean, you guys tell us in chat. Do you want us to end this stream, or do you want us to keep going? I think we should also probably take some. I'm curious to hear from everybody in chat what you like to talk about. What's on your mind related to Star Wars? Is there anything you'd like us to just sort of address? There's been some really good points that I appreciate. The point about, I think for me, the big one was the Luke's plan going into Jabba's palace. Cat in the garden says, "Go, go, go!" Like a speeder bike on Endor. Go, go, go! You want to talk about those other films? So let's break off, and then we can kind of get this thing off at tangents.
Okay, Solo. Let's start there. Your thoughts? Let's start with you.
I thought the film was good. I've seen it twice, which is about 1/800th of the number of times I've seen every other film. So that, I guess that tells you something. I think the sentiment of the overall, just the mood of the fandom at the time that movie came out was not good. A lot of people were talking about The Last Jedi. There were a lot of boycotts. Solo was a financial flop, from what I understand, for Lucasfilm. But the film was pretty good. I think it was a story that nobody really needed. I always liked the fact that Han Solo was a mystery. I think that actually gave his character depth. So while I'm eager to learn more about Obi-Wan Kenobi as a Jedi and post Order 66 and everything, was not interested to know about Solo. I didn't want to know that Solo's name, last name Solo, came from some just Imperial officer like in a phone booth. I like the fact that you didn't know who this guy was, and you didn't know if in the beginning, and you hope they didn't know if they can trust him, or you know what I mean. And then sort of his arc. So I thought it was kind of Disney sort of, this is what the fans want. We're gonna just monetize this legacy character. Anyway, you asked me a simple question. I give you an unsimple answer. But I thought the film was good. I thought the action was good. I thought the guy who played Han Solo I thought he did a really good job.
He did decent. There were times during the movie where I felt like I was watching a younger Han Solo. I liked the movie. Really, the main problem I had with it was that they had to squeeze in every question we had about Han Solo into the movie. Mm-hmm. Now, I think we could have started with a young Han Solo and how him and Chewbacca became friends and some of their escapades. Would have been a great movie. But we had to fit Han Solo and Chewbacca meeting for the first time and becoming friends. We had to learn about how they met Lando Calrissian and how Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon from him in a game. And we had to learn what the Kessel Run was, all in one movie. And it's like, you didn't have to put that. You could have spread that out. I mean, just show us Han and Chewie.
Well, and the dice. They made the whole
and
dice. The dice was like all the Easter eggs. They really chased the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I would say this. The meeting of Han and Chewie, I really liked that scene. I thought that was cool. Yeah, Chewie was like a beast that was going to kill him. They like feed him the beast, basically. And he kicks his ass. And then I really, so that part I really appreciated was the forming of that relationship. But yeah, you're right. The other stuff, it just felt like they were, again, it felt like a cash grab at times to me.
Yeah. I think, that's one that could have been spread out over a couple movies or 3 movies, just some Han Solo backstories. But I would like just seen, Han and Chewie meet and how they become friends.
Yeah.
So I did catch
that. Forget Kira. They could have forgotten Kira and Crimson Dawn.
Yeah.
Well, they could have been more, but they really could have just done more about Han and Chewie, and I don't know.
So if you go back to episode 1, The Phantom Menace, there's a scene on Coruscant, the planet, that's the big city, and all these, they're showing one of the airports coming in. Might have been the second, might have been Attack of the Clones, but they're showing all these ships that are flying into spaceports.
Yeah.
And in the very bottom of the screen, you happen to catch a little miniature of the Millennium Falcon that's coming in.
But is it confirmed? So some people say it's just another Corellian freighter.
That could be. Yeah. But even at the time, they had said that it was a T, or they'd squeeze the Millennium Falcon in there. But I just caught that Corellian freighter is a very beat up one that does not have the escape pod in it, much like the Millennium Falcon we know and love from 77, 80.
Right.
But in the Han Solo movie, we're introduced to the Millennium Falcon that's brand new, shiny, and has the escape pod in it.
Right.
So how would it have been beat up and the escape pod jettisoned in the Phantom Menace that happened years before? Just a little. That was Lucas, and now
I'm sure the escape pod was probably part of the original, design. But my first answer was going to be in 2002, the Attack of the Clones, that they didn't think of this idea of changing the escape pod and changing the antenna, But you're right, it's totally. So I don't know what the intent really was. Was it intentional, or was it just? I would imagine it's just something like this. They leave these things open for discussion. That gets the fans talking.
Well, why put in there a ship that looks like the Millennium Falcon? But it isn't. Oh, okay.
I'm kind of jumping around here, but I will say I'm trying to give the sequel some credit. The Force Awakens, when they do get on the Millennium Falcon, I really did like that scene when Rey and Finn are running, and they're going after this quad jumper. Then it blows up. It's hit by a TIE fighter. TIE fighter blows it up, and then Finn says, "What about that one?" And then Rey says, "That's garbage.
That piece of garbage."
And then they turn, and then it's the Millennium Falcon. I really did think that scene was clever, and I was like, "Oh, that's hilarious." Obviously, it's kind of random. It's just right there, and it was like Unkar had it in his possession, but I thought that was a good introduction. So I'm trying to give the sequel some credit. And KLG's 2223 says, I teared up when I walked on the Falcon at Disney. It was incredible.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, that'd be neat. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I did think I was in the movie theater and I'm watching The Force Awakens, and Han Solo, Chewie, they're all back on the Millennium Falcon at first. They get it back. Ren is there, and they get back, or actually, I guess they had docked with Han Solo and Chewbacca's, other freighter that they were flying at the time. Well, then they're boarded by, I forget what the gang was. There are two gangs actually board Han and Chewie's ship.
Conja Club. Right?
Conja Club.
And what was the other one?
Yeah.
Is this a trivia question? No.
Well, no, but this was the perfect opportunity right here. So Han Solo and Chewie, they're in the hallway. Ganja Club's down here on the one end, and they're yelling at him. They're kind of going back and forth. And Han Solo's like, right there, Han Solo should have went, sometimes I shoot first.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that whole sequence I just wasn't really care for.
And that would have went back to the whole redo though from George Lucas when he made Han Solo not shoot first.
Yeah.
They could have totally tied that in there. And he's like,
you're right.
Conja Club, sometimes I shoot first.
Yeah.
That guy's a perfect missed opportunity.
Yeah, so Solo, okay, I think we consensus, it was okay. There were some moments. I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan, so I try to enjoy, I kind of go on about something that I don't like, but most of it, I try to be positive and find some enjoyment out of most of the content that's put out there. And that was Solo. But I, as a fan, I was not in a good place with Disney at the time. The Solo came out, it was after Last Jedi, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. Sorry, no disrespect to anybody who, if you like that film, I envy you. No, truly. I mean, I learn as we learn here with whiskey. It's like everybody has different preferences, so it's not.
Oh yeah.
You can't please anyone. I was just a little kind of bummed, and I was like, "This is what they're putting out." But you know what? Going in the direction the series, the shows, I just think it's the best format for Star Wars for fans because we want to know everything about everything, and so we haven't seen a film since I guess Rise of Skywalker, and I hear about some of the film projects that are like delayed or canceled, like Rogue Squadron. So
yeah, for
various reasons.
Rogue One, on the other hand, phenomenal movie. I thought great tie-in, great cinema photography, real world effects, special effects, and everything just tied in great. I was wondering, I'm like, how do they run this and end it? Because we know what the end of it is. I mean, they get the plans to the Death Star to the Rebel fleet. But then they kill off all the main characters from the series. I'm like, man, they had so many side stories to go here. So many other.
Well, they're doing the Cassian show.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're going to pre-tell, some story.
Yeah. I really, and you're talking about that now, and before we went live, you were talking about how you just watched that. I really like that movie. I really think that was just so well done, and I think there was a common complaint about it. People saying there were too many characters. It was moved too fast. They jumped from planets. Well, there was a limited amount of time, and there was a big story to tell. But I thought it was really, really well done, and I think seeing Vader in a couple of scenes was cool. But he wasn't. I think his hallway scene probably is the scene of the film.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But even if you remove that, the whole film was good. And I really just admired that. I just really appreciate the storyline of you have this Imperial scientist who's working against his will, and he's basically he's forced to do it, and the whole time he's doing that, he's basically, he's working against the Empire, and the message almost doesn't get out, and the Alliance doesn't trust it. They don't trust, Anyway. Fantastic film.
Mm-hmm.
The Death Troopers, the Dark Troop.
Yeah.
The Death Troopers.
They had Shadow. I think the Shadow Troopers were the black ones. Is that right?
So the Shadow Troopers appeared not. So it was the Death Troopers that were in Rogue One. The Shadow Troopers look like normal stormtroopers, but they're black and they're kind of go. Those go back and from Expanded Universe, and then the Dark Troopers were the
bigger.
You see Mandalorian, and then the Phase 3 is they're all droids. But the Death Troopers were all 6'5", which is my height. So I was like, yeah, I can relate to this. And that's which is kind of funny. It's like they're the special forces of the Imperial Army, but like they're the biggest targets. I don't really understand that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of funny, but yeah, that film was fantastic, and I just love how it enhanced the overall storyline.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, yeah, I thought it was good overall. So great.
And Scott says best acting in the franchise in Rogue One. Was that the only? Those are the two standalone films.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. And that was right after, of course, Disney did both of those after they bought. Speaking of, George Lucas, 1977, way over budget, way over his time frame for Star Wars. It's about canceled. Ends up, several years ago, selling the whole franchise for what, $4 billion.
Yeah, I had read that. The $4 billion price point or the valuation that they settled on was probably like $750 million more than it was really worth. So I mean, like really probably the I don't know what they call it, market price. A truer valuation would have been like 3.2. So the point is, I had read, this is several years ago now, but that did put extra pressure. The fact that Disney paid a lot more than they really thought it was worth did put a lot of pressure on them to boost the time, bump up the timeline on the franchise, and then the sequel trilogy to turn, to get their money back quicker. I don't know if that's true or not, but
all right, let's go.
What's everyone drinking tonight? First of all, I mean, for those of you who are with us, we're an hour and a half into this. I'm sure you've had one whiskey at least. Just kind of curious what's in your glass. I'm still on this. What am I still on? 29.248 Creek Chips Lost in the Fog.
Oh,
probably my favorite name.
I'm still on Rare Avis.
So
we touched on Force Awakens earlier. Move into The Last Jedi. Again, here we open up very similar to, this is the second movie in the newest trilogy, but very much like Empire Strikes Back. Our friends are fleeing a planet that the Empire or the Republic now is moving on, and they're getting blasted as they're leaving. They get pursued. They end up on, I forget what the planet is, where the new rebel base was at. And then they're attacked by four-legged AT-AT walkers. Luke Skywalker had gone into exile, basically had given up everything. And actually, Bart was really upset with the story play there that Luke had given up all hope.
Wait, are we talking about? I'm sorry. Are we talking about Last Jedi?
The Last Jedi.
We are talking about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Those words, when I hear those words, they go into one ear and they kind of go out the next. So I was trying to figure. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm listening to this.
As I watched it, I didn't mind that. It wasn't necessarily something I would have thought had happened, but I'm like, well, as screenwriters, you kind of have to take the audience by surprise or go a route that they're not expecting. Would Luke Skywalker give up all hope and just abandon everybody, even once, his sister Leia is trying to get him to come help fight again? Yeah, I kind of have a problem with that.
My cousin, when that movie came out, his point that he made to me was he posed a question to me and he said, Ben, how many people do you think died in combat? Military, died in combat in this world at some point inspired by the character of Luke Skywalker? And I don't really have I don't know the number, but his answer was pretty clear. Not none. Meaning the character is important to a lot of us. You know,
Mm-hmm.
important to me as a kid. You were in the military, I was not. But the point of, you know, when he phrased it that way, thinking that people actually did die fighting, you know, where I'm not saying in the moment they died, they were in battle or in combat thinking of Luke Skywalker, but at some point they were inspired, you know, by the character. And that really kind of that hit home for me when he said that. Not because I've had the experience, but I just thought, wow, that's a really powerful point.
Yeah.
And so then to see what they did to that character, the green milk drinking deadbeat after the deadbeat dad of Han Solo that was killed off. I'm like, this is not it. And when you hear that Mark Hamill was protesting during filming, you know, basically telling Ryan Johnson that this is not the character, you're getting this wrong, and that Mark was so upset that he is Luke Skywalker. I mean, his career, his life, everything for 40 years has been Luke Skywalker, and his identity is tied up with that character, and it's like being it's sad. It's really sad to me.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah. And I yeah. Anyway, I wasn't a fan of Last Jedi. There were some moments. Did you like some moments of that film? Or what, you were kind of into it overall, or did you? You set that aside. I mean, forget my negativity about that point. Okay, yeah, I will say I thought the scene where Kylo killed Snoke was interesting. There's a one moment in that film that I thought was really cool, which is when he just killed Snoke and he uses the Force to pull the lightsaber back. Rey's hand reaches up, like that whole shot where her hand reaches up and grabs the lightsaber.
Yeah.
But then her facial expression when she turns around and looks at Kylo, I think was really good acting. So credit Daisy Ridley. I'm trying to be positive, but I think that look on her face, you know, I honestly think it was the best part of the movie. It was just really good acting, and I felt that was believable. Like, she was in shock. She's like, what the hell just happened? You really did this, you know? And I just don't think that.
Well, Kyle says Yoda did the same thing. Yoda went into exile, but he didn't give up. I mean, he knew that they had to wait. Their time wasn't then. And when Luke showed up, he knew he had to train him. That was Yoda. Luke, Rian Johnson had him give up on life, basically, and everything that he had believed in.
And then they have to bring Yoda. He has to come back as a Force ghost to basically whip him into shape.
Yeah.
And I remember in that scene thinking, like, finally, here's one moment at least. Like, it's like, tell him. I was like, tell the director while you're at it too. I was like, you speak.
Yeah.
Just like meeting an old master. Yeah, we can move on from that film. But
then we're moving on to episode 9,
The
Rise of Skywalker. Again, they have to bring J.J. Abrams to kind of come in and clean up Rian Johnson's mess. And I've heard both stories here that you would think that they would have sat down and planned a story for the 3 movies, and that you can create your own story, but it has to fall within these guidelines. And they said that I've heard that Johnson, they allowed him to just make his own movie, which he totally did. But then J.J. Abrams had to bring him back to kind of tie everything back up and kind of clean it up from the mess that Johnson created. And then they said, no, this was all written out. It was all planned. I really don't buy that argument.
Well, okay. So we know for a fact it was not planned. Like that has since.
Yeah, I've heard that. There was one interview where J.J. Abrams did and alluded to that fact, right?
And Daisy Ridley said as well. She came out in an interview and confessed the whole thing too.
Yeah.
Shortly after the film came out, basically saying, nobody knew who, because she said anyway.
Yeah.
But it is weird in that film that J.J. Abrams is basically now cleaning up the mess that Rian Johnson created, and it's this awkward, like you can just tell that he's trying to undo the things that were that the undoer did. You know what I mean? In the most awkwardly paced film, in my opinion.
I thought J.J. Abrams did a good job though of what he was handed and I thought he did a good job of putting a bow on the package and wrapping it up.
You did?
Yeah.
Make the sacrifice. Oh my god! I am all the Sith guys, and I am all the Jedi. And then also, who's the lady who's just happens to be walking through the desert on the little Luke's little home? They just happen to be there, and then there's like a lady who's like, "Oh, what's your name?" She's like,
"Oh yeah,
Ray who?" Like, what was she doing there? What was her purpose? She was moisture farming. She was just like cruising around on like
the big snouted creature.
Anyway, we did talk about. We wouldn't talk about be negative about it. Here we are.
Positive spin.
Well, the positive spin is I think the organization learned from it. I think this was an instance in which the fans responded. And I think then the little show that was not the big project, it's called The Mandalorian, came around, and all this, and everybody loved it. And merchandise sales were abysmal. I guess for the first several years for the sequel trilogy, because so much of the money is made in the toys.
Yeah,
and the kids were not buying the toys, and then you had the Grogu all of a sudden become this like cultural icon of the Disney era. By far, nothing's matched that, and then you can kind of tell. This was behind the scenes. Disney's I don't know.
Now I'm sure you know this. There may be some people that are watching that don't. I didn't realize. So when The Mandalorian started and we had baby Yoda, not Grogu at the time, it was just baby Yoda. I had to think, I'm like, well, what species is Yoda? And I'm like, he's something. I had to go back. I went through all my old stuff and looking and stuff. They've never said what species Yoda is and Grogu now. So we don't know. You probably know that a lot. Maybe some people watching don't.
No. There's no answer.
Right.
And George Lucas, I think, had asked, and Dave Filoni has honored that. And so, we were starting to think we see Baby Yoda. We're like, are we going to learn more about a species or not? We haven't yet. Maybe that will come in the third season of The Mandalorian. But George was pretty adamant that just don't go there. And just kind of like how I was saying about Han Solo, it was kind of nice to not know much of his backstory. I think that's true for some characters. And I think it's cool that for a fandom that wants to know everything about everything, there is no answer.
All right, one more. I've got another question in mind for a trivia question. $25 gift card at play here.
Don't tell me.
We talked earlier of the character Darth Maul. Who played Darth Maul? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Don't say it out loud.
I won't.
Are you thinking, or are you just like, you don't want to say it?
Me?
Yeah.
No. He's. I know. Are you asking me the question, or is this a trivia question?
No, don't say it. That's the trivia. I already entered the answer. Yeah, say
Oh,
you got a comment with the correct answer here. No, I was asking you. Don't say it out loud, but do you know who it was?
Yeah, he's an Aussie man, and
martial arts guy.
Yeah.
And you can enter your answer several different ways if you have to. It has to be all correct there. I see quite a few answers coming in.
Yeah, bonus question. Who plays the voice of Maul?
That's right. They did have his voice dubbed because, nope, the character that played Darth Maul, not his voice do-over.
The voice dub is Sam Witwer.
They didn't like his the actor's voice, so and there's only he only has like 3 or 4 lines.
At last we will have our revenge.
At last
we will reveal ourselves. What does he say?
We will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have our revenge.
He did a really good job of not saying anything during the duel with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Like, he really was just kind of like,
All right, are we ready? Everybody had time to answer? I'll share my screen here.
Oh, actually, I actually looked him up. He's actually, I was wrong. He's Scottish. I thought he was Australian.
Aye, mate. It's all right.
He's got an interesting Scottish. He's from Glasgow.
Here we go. Do 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 do.
Oh my God!
Steve won.
Wow, everybody, that was close. I saw Kyle was about to win. Steve Balzac finally won one.
Now, I did send out the earlier gift cards. Let me go in here real quick, and I'll just send this one while we're live, and then I don't have to remember to do it tomorrow.
Just for everybody in chat, I'm curious to kind of steer this conversation. What do you want to see moving forward, just from the franchise? Either sort of character explorations or storylines. Curious to hear your opinion too, Scott. Like, what do you want to see explored next? Beyond what's already in the pipeline. Well, there's quite a few things in the pipeline, but.
Well, I mean, that's hard. Actually, I haven't even thought about it. George Lucas had 9. He had 9. He had, the 3 trilogies, 9 movies in his mind for the original Star Wars. Everything else is kind of a branch off. So we've had what George Lucas had in mind. I really would have liked to seen what George Lucas would have done with 7, 8, and 9. Myself, I think it would have been good to explore a few Jedi. Luke had trained a few Jedi up. Leia and Han had kids, and there was still some faction of the Empire out there hunting them down, and they had to, there was final battles to finish to survive, basically. But since that first 9 movies has been addressed, I think this for movies, let's not think like the streaming 1-hour episodes on Disney, which they've done an excellent job with. If I had movies, I'd love to see. Well, before I would have said Boba Fett, but now we've had a series on Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. But I suppose let's go back. How about Rogue Squadron, like you brought up earlier? That would be a good one. A series of Darth Vader in between episode 3 and 4, hunting down Jedi and killing the last of them, trying to find them all and kill them.
Which is what we're about to see.
That's the Obi-Wan series, true.
But the point is, for that storyline is of interest to you.
How about real action Clone Wars? That'd be good. Expanded. How about a real delve into that expanded universe a little bit, maybe with some real movies?
Yeah. White Hazy says, I agree with this. I think they should make a movie from the dark side where they are in a positive light and see if they can make you sympathetic to the side. So my understanding is that's the concept of the show, The Acolyte, that I think is pretty highly anticipated, where it's focused on the dark side specifically. And, every storyline within Star Wars thus far that started off the dark side or focus has the characters sort of switched back to the light side pretty quickly. in books and in video games. So I would definitely agree with that. We need more taxation trade dispute.
We don't even need
We must make contact. I will not condone another action that will bring us to war.
Ahsoka Tano is a great character from the Clone Wars, and brought her into the Mandalorian. Good job of Rosario Dawson being casted to play her as well. I thought she did a good job. Granted, a lot older Ahsoka Tano than what we knew in the Clone Wars. But
do you like the character Ahsoka Tano? I mean,
yeah.
You know what I think it really fascinates me about Dave Filoni, and I read this like an interview with him, or watched the interview. I think either I read the interview or I don't remember if I watched it or not. When he wrote that character with approval from George Lucas, I guess George didn't really like the character to begin with originally, and he was just kind of like, I'm gonna do it anyway. But he made he wrote the character in such a way that she would be really annoying and disliked by fans. So this is mind-blowing. It was intentional, and all the fans like hated this. She was calling Anakin like Sky Guy, or like, who is this person? She's so annoying. And so he intentionally made her into a character that fans would dislike, only then to give her a true humbling arc. Mm-hmm. And that fans could actually learn to embrace her as she's humbled, and like the little cocky girl kind of goes away, and I mean, she learns her place and then excels to actually become a fan. I got the chills thinking about this. Like, how brilliant is that from a writing perspective, knowing that over time that she would evolve in future seasons and rise up. I don't know. I really, really admire, and I'm impressed.
What happened? What was the conflict though that happened in the Clone Wars? I don't remember, where she was kind of the fall guy for something that happened, and they blamed her or Anakin, and that was what drove her out. Was that she saw that it was kind of they were
what's a good question for everybody in chat? Yeah, there was the other.
I don't remember what happened that she got blamed for that wasn't her fault, and so it kind of drove her out.
Was it a murder? And it was what's the other girl's name who actually did it? And Anakin confronts her. I can't remember, but she was wrongfully accused.
Yeah, that's right.
Of a bombing is what KLG223 says. A bombing at the Jedi Temple. That's right. Yeah, she was sort of set up or framed. Maybe was she framed, or was she just wrongfully accused?
Toffee.
Barris, that's right. Barris, yeah.
Bad Batch I liked. I would love to see a real action series, not cartoon, of the Bad Batch.
A lot of people are saying we'll see some Bad Batch characters in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, good.
Just sort of I mean, people want to see Rex. Well, I'm just thinking of just clones in general. And other characters.
When I first heard that Bad Batch was getting their own series, I thought it was a live action, real person series, not a cartoon still.
Yeah. And Scott says, and Omega, who is Boba Fett's sister, who I thought maybe we would see in the book of Boba Fett, but I realized that there's just too much to tell in a short series. That would have probably.
I don't remember. Didn't realize Omega was Boba Fett's. Oh, that's right. She was a clone.
So she was a clone.
That's right. She was different though, or something. She'd been set aside basically, or something, hadn't she? Or I mean, she was a misfit basically. Like the Bad Batch, they were different.
Yeah. Well, that would have been so she was the other unaltered clone, the female. But that would have taken like an episode or two away just to even explain that. Yeah. So I think what I would like to see, going back to the question, and I this is still open for everybody in chat, but what would you like to see explored next? I'd really like to see them explore the Old Republic, which I guess they'll be doing at some point. But the character Darth Revan. Do you know much? Have you heard the books about Revan, or know about
Well, when you brought up the Old Republic, I was going to set the stage there a little bit. There may be some people that are watching that don't know this.
Yeah.
It used to be there were great numbers of the Sith and there were great numbers of the Jedi. And the Sith found that the less of them that there were, the more powerful they were individually. So that's why it came down to basically, instead of there being thousands or hundreds of Sith, there was only one master and then his apprentice, because they were more powerful that way. Which tied at the end, in episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, at the end, the arena surrounded by Palpatine, it's full of Sith, people with red lightsabers. And it's like, well, that kind of went against the old.
They had lightsabers?
Didn't they? I can't remember. I thought they did have. Well, no, maybe not.
I don't.
No,
well,
he was just,
they were like all Sith loyalists. Like, who were they?
Yeah, they was just referring to them as Sith and whatnot. But yeah, it wouldn't have been in the old days. That wouldn't have happened because the Sith, they would have been less powerful when there was that many of them. But yeah, the Darth Revan and some of those, and those. See, these are some of the toys and stuff that I'd collected when they were releasing some of their action figures of them and stuff, years ago.
I think it's interesting now, like in 2022, to kind of when we look back and, when Star Wars first came out, the films came out, the Jedi were the good guys, the Sith were the bad guys. Like, that's pretty clear. The division, well, the Empire was the bad guys, but the division was pretty clear. And then you think back at it, you're like, okay, then the prequels came out and those stories were told, and you realize that, the Jedi kind of shot themselves in the foot. They became too politically involved. They lost their way. They would say Qui-Gon was the last real true Jedi. He was a servant of the Force. Wasn't as involved in politics. But even Yoda and Mace Windu and Obi-Wan, they were all part of Allegiance. They were, their allegiance was with the Republic. Not more so than the Force, or just as much so. So, so it was their downfall, which was kind of was interesting, and so it's interesting to see. So, like, the character Revan was a Jedi who then went to the dark side, and then went back to the light side again. There's just a lot of back and forth, and I think that would be fun to sort of see that story play out. Interesting. Scott Freeland says, "I'm thinking Grogu is himself Yoda. He'll end up going back in time through the portals that Ezra Bridger found. This will all tie together when they find Thrawn and Ezra." So that's, pulling from Rebels, as we know, likely so at the end of the Mandalorian season. At the end of the Book of Boba Fett, because I was thinking of the Mandalorian episodes, the 2 episodes that wasn't season 3, that was Book of Boba Fett. We assume Ahsoka is now going to look for Ezra. And maybe that will play out. Yeah, I'm curious to know where they go with Grogu, like that storyline. He was born the same year as Anakin Skywalker. Does that mean anything at all?
By the timeline, huh?
Yeah. In the Star Wars timeline, Anakin and Grogu were born the same year, which is kind of interesting.
But he knows his name is Grogu, so if he did go back in time, he would have stuck with that name, wouldn't he? He wouldn't change his name to Yoda when he went back in time. I don't know.
No, he's saying that. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, I'm going to pull up again. Scott said, "I'm thinking Grogu is himself Yoda. He'll end up going back in time." Do you mean, Scott, that he will in future content, or that up until this point?
No, he's saying in the future he'll go back through time, but then then becomes Yoda. Oh, we don't know anything. The thing is, we don't know any other. There's no other beings of that species. I mean, that was the Mandalorian's deal, was trying to find.
There's Yaddle
people.
There's Yaddle. Yaddle, who's a female, who's on the Jedi Council in the prequels. So a common theory is that Grogu is the child of Yoda and Yaddle.
Oh,
too. She's in episode 1 and 2, maybe.
I'd forgot.
She's in the council. So there's the idea that he simply really is their child, which could be possible. There can be, when I mentioned that he's born the same year as Anakin, I think that's kind of odd. Or is it total just a coincidence, or did the Force produce two beings?
Well, and if he is Yoda's child, that also explains the Empire's significant interest in locating him and finding him.
Yeah. Or he's just of a species that generally has a high metachlorine count and is so rare and known for that. I think I don't know the answer. But I'm just kind of exploring this idea that he's born the same year as Anakin. Did Yoda have a child the same year that the Force produced this other? The Force, or presumably Sidious. Was it? Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the leading theory, that Sidious manipulated the Force to impregnate Shmi Skywalker, basically. And did that sort of dark side alchemy produce naturally a natural response from the Force to create Grogu? This is some real deep, kind of Star Wars.
See, I've just been since my kids are grown now. Of course, they're big Star Wars fans though too. But I've kind of been out of touch. I ought to get back into touch and read up on some theories and some other side stories myself.
Yeah. I mean, I spend my YouTube feed is whiskey channels, Star Wars channels, car channels. It's like the three. And when I do enjoy a lot of the live streams with Star Wars YouTubers talking about, recapping episodes of shows and kind of speculating on certain things. It's fun. It's all good fun. And Kyle says, in Legends, Palpatine did a lot with cloning, trying to clone Force users to see if their powers went into the clones. That's likely where they're going in Mando. Yeah. I mean, you basically see that in the second season when they go back to Navarro, and you have like the little Snokes, right?
Yeah.
Or they look like Snoke, right? I'm trying to think. Josh Penn says, this is easily one of the best live streams I've been to. Our lowest attended, however, as we always feel, it's the quality of everybody hanging with us. So we really appreciate you being here. Yeah, this is totally wild. We should just talk about different things all the time.
Oh, and like I say, hopefully this is the first annual, maybe the fourth live stream. Maybe we'll bring one next year. I think ideally we should have had like a special bottle release. We're just a little late to the table with this one. It's like, hey, May the 4th, and here's a new bottle, for you to go buy. May the 4th themed, but we have to look at that and plan that in the future. Maybe try to do an exclusive bottling for May the 4th. I don't know.
Wow, we're over 2 hours into this. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do one more whiskey right now.
And one more. How about a trivia question answer? You got something? What do you think?
Yes.
Let me think. You got something? Yeah. Send me the answer.
Should I do a really difficult one? I'm thinking. Let's see. I have a couple of.
$25 gift card.
Oh, okay. This is a big one. This is a difficult one. But of course, once somebody gets it, everybody else can answer it. In The Mandalorian season 2.
You got to send me the answer first.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not gonna. Okay. Oh, I have to send it to you actually.
Yeah, private chat. Send me the answer.
No, this is going to be, I think, real difficult.
You think?
I think so. In The Mandalorian season 2 finale, we see an appearance of Luke Skywalker, and in the sort of the making of, or they call it like this, the Star Wars gallery on Disney Plus, they do like a making of after the show aired. But in that show, they basically, in the documentary or whatever, behind the scenes, where am I going? I'm 6 whiskeys into this. What we learn is that, getting that scene done, including Luke Skywalker, obviously, the goal when producing Star Wars is just to avoid any leaks, which is nearly impossible. So the lengths of which, the film producers go to keep things a secret, even from actors, even the original trilogy, like, the Vader father reveal wasn't known to people, like, until like they got the script on the day of, and only a couple people even knew it. Anyway, that's not the question. The question is, to keep oh, that's a good whiskey.
Go on. You would not believe this was festival release from last year. 33.139.
That's a fantastic. I'll be at that distillery in 4 weeks from today. That's not the trivia question. The trivia question is, to keep Luke Skywalker's appearance a secret to everyone in the world, Dave Filoni, in his script, wrote that the big Jedi appearance would be whom? So, is that too difficult? Does anyone know?
No, but see, I don't know if I knew that, and I thought I've seen the answer. I wouldn't have known this. I thought this Jedi was killed in Episode 3.
Well, as we know, people in Star Wars die and come back all the time. I am all the Sith. All right, we got it. We got some answers. Here they come. There's the answer. This is also known to be Dave Filoni's favorite Jedi. So that's why it worked in the writing of the script, because he just wrote this character in because everybody naturally believed that would be the original intent. That because Dave likes this Jedi as his favorite, that he would, of course, want to have him rescue Grogu at the end. So I think that's pretty cool.
Didn't they, after Order 66 was given, wasn't Plo Koon shot down in his starfighter?
He was.
Yeah.
He was. So that's why.
Did I just say it out loud?
Yeah. Plo Koon. So that's why, when Dave Filoni when they wrote the script, basically they wrote as Plo Koon, thinking that would be such a dramatic reveal that, of course, Dave's favorite Jedi has somehow survived. And, anyway, no one's ever really gone, says KLG 223. One of the better lines from one of the lesser films.
All right.
And Eric Wade's studio says, I don't know who Plo Koon is. I'm just repeating what everyone else said. That is true. All right, you Plo Kooners. Let's see who gets the $25 gift card.
Correct answer right there. We're drawn. Boom! Scott Friedland.
All right. Well done, Scott. Are we done with trivia? Do we have any more? I think we should do one more. You have another one?
I'll think of one. Just talk for a second. Let me go send this gift card, and then I don't have to remember it for tomorrow. I can get this done right now. I've sent all the others while we've been live. I'm thinking.
Tamar says, to your point, Scott, about doing a special release for May the 4th. 1 year could be a bourbon cast for the light side, and the next is sherry bomb for the dark side. It's a very Edgerton idea, Tamar. I think Highland Park did that at one part, but that's so true. Or we just do them together, side by side. Think of, like, for the dark side, you think of like a heavily sherried, like a Bunnahabhain or something, a peated Bunnahabhain.
That would be for the Jedi. The Jedi was something heavily sherried.
Okay, well, I was thinking like a really dirty whiskey, it
would be definitely peated.
Yes, but it had to be dark, It would be dark, something like a heavy sherry cask, and No, I don't think that the Jedi drink sherry cask whiskey. They're more of the in touch with this natural spirit. They want a light bourbon hogshead for sure.
I think that's
You just want to be a Jedi.
I think it's something we need to talk about. Is maybe a May the 4th bottling. We'll have to see what happens.
That's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, me and you, like on the side, making that happen.
No, I think this is the side. We're doing it right now.
Are we doing it right now?
Yeah, I think we're deciding and we're preparing the brief for our colleagues in the UK. We have to fill it out and have to explain what we want, what type of whiskey we want, and I think we decide right now.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that the light side has to be a sherry cask. And I'm not really convinced.
Me myself, I've always in my mind I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm the good, and I like sherry cask whiskeys, and so I think Jedi should drink a sherry cask whiskey. That's just where I'm coming from. But Kim KLG223 has a good point. She says they believe in balance: ex-bourbon followed by sherry, which is a good balance. That is true. A Jedi drink would be a well-balanced drink.
What about balance between the spirit and the wood? You would achieve that would be more I think effectively or easily achieved with American oak.
I mean, I suppose you could argue a Sith drink would be either something heavily sherried or heavily peated because they're definitely strong, that way that it's all or nothing, basically. And the Jedi are balanced. So that was a good point, actually.
Yes. It's official. We've done it.
If you're going to dive into it and be like, okay, how do we break these down? What is a Jedi whiskey? That's a good point. It would be well balanced. It would be something, bright and light and balanced.
But yeah, good balance between the wood. So I'm thinking specifically. Think of like, and we won't talk in. We'll just talk in distilleries here for a second. But think of like a 12 to 20-year-old like Glen Grant in a second filled bourbon barrel would have enough time in the wood to absorb a lot of the classical flavors from bourbon, but which is you can also say a younger spirit in a first fill cask. But I'm just thinking specifically more balanced whiskey would be like a 12 to 20-year-old space side in a Glen Grant is a particularly viscous and fruity spirit, but not as much so as like a Glen Talker's. So I'm just thinking that would be my definition of balance in a whiskey. The balance between the spirit and the wood.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What would you say is that?
I did not think that at first, but after careful consideration, I do believe that's probably accurate. That's probably good. And a Sith would be a strong, either sherried or even peated, or maybe both, like this one I'm drinking right here that you would not believe. Very heavily peated and sherried.
Oh, that's yeah.
Strong and forceful.
That is such a good whiskey too.
Yeah,
we had that together. You opened that bottle when we were in Indiana for the Scotch 4 Dummies anniversary, and I have a bottle here with a little bit left. I was going to pull it out, but I figured you'd have that, and which is not a reason not to have it. I was just thinking for conversational different whiskeys. I pulled a more classical Isla 53.259. It's called Succumb to Desire. I love the name, Succumb to Desire. Kind of like a dark side, Path of a Dark Side user, but this classic 11-year-old refill hogshead from Isla. I just think this is an example of one of the casks from Distillery 53 where everything is in sync.
How old is it?
11 years. Yeah. So kind of the bread and butter of the Distillery 53. Cat in the Garden says Distillery 39 as a Jedi. I can see that. Similar space side with a little bit of sort of minerality to it compared to my Glen Grant suggestion. And Seth says Sith would absolutely drink something heavily peated. Yeah, I'm thinking what you're drinking right now, Scott. Like an intense, visceral whiskey, Isla, with the dark sherry cask. Kyle Cummins says, bacon on a bonfire always makes me think of episode 3. Eric says, hey, Scott, thanks for holding those bottles for me. The dark side cherry notes will be amazing.
Cheers, Eric. Yep.
Cheers.
Well, I'm trying to think of one more trivia question. I'm racking my brain. I mean, there's plenty. I'm trying to think of something a little different that'd be good.
Let's turn to chat. First person to throw out a trivia question. We'll run with that. But of course, that would exclude you from answering. So maybe not.
Oh, I got it.
Okay. Which episode is the worst? Savage. Eric Evanson also says, I got a trivia question. Do you want to do your, Scott? We can do multiple. We don't have to just
I already got the answer entered.
All right. I don't want to see the answer. I just want to see. Don't tell me. I want to play along.
This planet Obi-Wan was led to by a dart and ended up being a planet covered by rain and oceans where the clones are bred. What planet? You remember?
Yeah, I remember.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody's Googling it right now.
But I had to think of the dart for a second. I was like, oh yeah, the dart.
I can say the name of the dart, yeah. And what's the guy in the restaurant, the big server comes up?
Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy? What does he say? Good to see you. Oh,
the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
They're cloners. Obi-Wan. Oh, hey, let me just pull up my plumber crack. Oh, that whole dino scene was like, okay, clean up aisle 5. Oh, whatever. There's like that whole scene. I was like, okay, a little too, literal.
Yeah.
In this galaxy, Camino.
Do you want some go-go juice?
Yeah, what is that?
That'd be.
Jester.
Kyle Cummins is on it. We're being outstaged here by Kyle Cummins. I can tell you that. We need to maybe next year we bring Kyle in as an expert. GCap, I see tuning in. I don't know how long he's been here. George Kaplan.
George Kaplan brings in a very, very interesting contribution when he says, I'll go with the majority, Camino. I'm not sure, George. Maybe.
I think you have to just enter the name, though. I don't think there can be other text with it. Not sure. But just enter the name of the planet.
Yeah.
This is a drawing. I think it has to match the text that I entered into the machine.
Obi-Wan. And cloners.
Eric Waite thinks it's like his old El Camino that he used to drive around. Yeah, George Kaplan just commented that El Camino. All right. Share my screen. $25 gift card at play.
Good luck.
There's the correct answer. 16 people. Here we go. We'll start to slow down. I'll start to slow down.
Gift card.
And Eric Evanson.
Oh.
Time.
Ironic. Eric said he has a trivia question for us, and instead of reading his, we read yours, and he won.
Yeah.
Ironic. He could
you ever
save
hear,
others, but not himself.
Yeah. Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis? Was that right? Darth Plagueis?
No,
Darth Plagueis. Plagueis the Wise.
Darth Plagueis the Wise. It's a Sith legend. You know, in the timeline, so he had just killed Plagueis. Oh, actually, the timeline. It was like, I think it was in the timeline after the events of the Phantom Menace, before the Attack of the Clones, or like just before the start of the Phantom Menace, or during the Phantom Menace. In the timeline is when Palpatine killed Plagueis, actually. So maybe if somebody else knows that, there seem to be some people who know quite a bit. So I think that went down at that time. We'd really like to see that explored more, the Plagueis Palpatine apprenticeship. I really, really wanted Snoke to be Plagueis.
Oh.
I just thought, Palpatine is dead at the end of Return of the Jedi. Where are you going with this, Disney? Yeah. And I just thought, the villain has to be bigger. You know what I mean? Like what threat is going to continue this story and keep us engaged? And in my mind, I thought, wait a second, the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Now, who can actually cheat death? What if we learned, actually, no, he really did cheat death.
Yeah.
Palpatine didn't kill him, and Palpatine's master is now, maybe he was like severely weakened or something, and he's back, and he is much more powerful than Palpatine ever was. You know what I mean? Like, I would have bought that for sure.
That's good.
And I thought for sure, clearly that's the only direction they can go. But instead, they had this no-name person who was then killed by Snoke, and then you leave The Last Jedi, where the big bad villain is Kylo Ren, who lost to Rey and like had a good fight with Finn, until he I mean, it's like,
well, anybody that's watching too, if you ever wondered, Kylo Ren is Ben Solo, but he's not a Sith Lord. He wasn't there yet. He hadn't reached that level. He wasn't even that good to get a Darth. He wasn't Darth Kylo Ren. He was just Kylo Ren. He hadn't even been anointed a Sith yet. So he was technically still in training. Yeah, and he's the big bad guy. Eric, I gave you 6 months. That's what I've been putting on the gift cards from these for expiration date.
Oh, and Cal Cummins says in the Plagueis book he was. Oh, that's right. This is what I was trying to think of, because I read the Plagueis book. He was killed after Palpatine took Maul as an apprentice. So,
and he was horribly scarred. So he'd been attacked. Snoke. So yeah, that would have been a good storyline to run with there.
Well, yeah, and I'm not even saying that I wanted Snoke's identity to be Plagueis. I wanted the role of that Snoke, of this villain who was looming in the background during the events of the original trilogy, to be Plagueis. You're right, and he was a Mun, not even, and Snoke was kind of more of a humanoid, but I thought that would have been at least just better. Maybe that would have been too predictable, but I don't know. Do you think we'll see a return of Mace Windu ever? And would you like to see that?
I mean, it's definitely open. I don't think he was killed. I mean, that's definitely left open. So
I really hope they don't bring him back. I really, really hope they don't. Just because I feel like that was instrumental in the fall of Anakin Skywalker. There was the point of no return. And I would just be disappointed because I, as a fan who had said earlier, to me, Star Wars is the story, the tragedy of Darth Vader. Like, that's what I value the most about it as a fan. And the character of Anakin Skywalker has always been the one I felt like I can relate to most, because I'm a badass. No. And Steve Balzac says here, yeah, and I've read this. Samuel L. Jackson is pushing for the character to return. Why wouldn't he? He wants to wield that purple lightsaber. But I just think, and it would be badass to see him. And maybe we'll see it in Obi-Wan. But I just think it would just be unfortunate. Because then he'd have to die again, for real, because he wasn't,
Well, and that's where they're going to. So Darth Maul has come up again, being a half a man, and he's got the robot legs, which we see we saw him in the Clone Wars, and now we see him at the end of Solo. They introduce him in the hologram, but now that's it. I mean, there's got to be some other story coming up there with Darth Maul.
Well, in Rebels, when he gets killed for good, he's in Rebels for quite a bit, and then he finally tracks down Obi-Wan on Tatooine.
I never saw.
I would just even go on YouTube after this and just go look at Obi-Wan versus Maul Rebels, and it's a really, really nice. It's a cool scene when he confronts Obi-Wan, and then they have a moment. I mean, basically he confronts. There's all spoilers here. He confronts Obi-Wan, and he basically starts talking shit to Obi-Wan, saying like, "Look what you become, a rat in the desert." And Obi-Wan says, "Look what I've risen above." And basically, he's just everything in his life and Maul's life has led up to this moment of finally dueling Obi-Wan and killing Obi-Wan, and then Obi-Wan like basically kills him in like one swoop, one sort of just well-timed Obi-Wan move. And then as he's dying, right before, just go, I guess what's the duel? It's cool because basically Maul realizes in that moment, as he's sort of taunting Obi-Wan, he realizes that, wait a second, Obi-Wan's there for a purpose. He's protecting someone. So Maul's one, like the only, I think in that point, the only living being who figures this out right before they duel. He's like, wait a second, you're protecting something. And Obi-Wan says nothing. He says, wait, you're protecting someone. And then Obi-Wan draws his lightsaber. So, and then he strikes Maul and he slices him and whatever. And then as Maul's dying in Obi-Wan's arms, he asked Obi-Wan, he said, "Is he the chosen one?" And Obi-Wan says, "He is." And then Maul says, "Then he will avenge us." Meaning because because Maul hates more, just as much as he hates Obi-Wan, he hates Palpatine or Sidious. And so he wants Sidious to be destroyed just as much as him. So anyway,
gotcha.
I just give it away, but you just go, you'll see it. It's a cool scene. I think the character Maul is like really, really well developed after.
So they'll have to bring that into the Obi-Wan series then, is what you're saying.
I think he's already dead. He's dead at the timeline because I think that was.
I don't think so. I mean, because they bring him in at the end of Solo, which only happens a few years before Luke is 18. I mean, because Han Solo is a few years older than Luke. And Luke is around 10 in the Obi-Wan series. It's got to be about the same time. It could happen.
I think. Well, no. Solo happens. I don't remember. I'm losing my timeline. I think at some point.
Solo is just, they don't really say, I don't think, but it's a few years before A New Hope. I mean, it's in between 3 and 4.
Is it only that?
Well, yeah, because Han Solo becomes an Imperial pilot.
Well, I think there's 20. Isn't there 20 years in between 3 and 4? Or no, maybe less because Luke is. How old is Luke?
About 20. Yeah, because he's born and then he's around 18.
He's like 17, maybe or something.
Yeah, when A New Hope happens. So there's 17, 18 years in between the two.
So then Obi-Wan, the show takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So then Luke Skywalker is around 10 years old. And so he's 7 years away from A New Hope in that case. But I think Maul dies 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. I think that's. Can somebody in the chat just, if you jump in on this? And I'm pretty sure Maul is already dead by 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. But you're right, Scott, that it's a short window between the end of Solo when he's there as the head of Crimson Dawn.
Yeah.
I'm kind of forgetting it.
Yeah.
Steve Balzic says Luke is about 17 in A New Hope. Han looks in his early 30s. Yeah. I think Harrison Ford was around that age. Oh, here's what Kyle Cummins says. Maul dies when Obi-Wan is old. He is old, but I think Ewan McGregor's character in the show doesn't look as old as we would have thought, because he's still in Rebels and this show that's coming out. He's on Tatooine looking after Luke, who is a child. So they're actually the same age. I just don't think Ewan McGregor's character in the show looks as old, right? I mean,
right. Yeah, I agree.
I think because he should look more like Alec Guinness in terms of maybe some more grays.
He'd probably look like, if I grew out my beard again, what I look like. That's what he should look like.
Well, you're not even old. I mean, Alec Guinness is one. You just got the grays.
All right, I think I'm ready to wrap it up. 2.5 hours.
Wow, longest stream ever.
Good one.
Thanks everybody for hanging out. Smaller group, but really a great group.
Yeah,
I think it was a lot of fun.
Had fun. You bet.
Yeah, it's not about the size of the group. It's just about the conversation. We had no agenda going into this, and Scott last week said we should do a May the 4th stream. I was like, we have nothing to talk about. He said, that's okay. No, it's not. We need something to talk about. He said, that's okay.
We got plenty. You bet.
And so now I just don't know what to do with myself. Have another whiskey, go watch some Star Wars, I guess.
Yeah, you bet.
Go rewatch. You should go watch those Rebels, those Maul scenes.
I will. Yeah.
You can probably find a compilation that's just like every Maul scene in Rebels, I bet, and you can even just follow that character line.
Yeah, I'll have to. Yep, I'll do it.
How do you guys stayed through the whole thing, 2.5 hours from the beginning to the end? I really appreciate that, and obviously appreciate everybody else jumping in and joining. So next week starts the festivals. I will say one thing we're doing. We're going to announce this tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to send out an email with our live stream schedule, and which is on each one. We mentioned we have 5 festivals that we're celebrating, 5 different regions. Releases going on throughout the next 3 weeks, and we'll be doing a live stream. Scott, you'll be on every one of them, and then we'll have different members of our team. I'll be in a couple, but then Jenna and Tom will be involved as well. But we're also doing something called Virtual Drams, which we did last September for the gathering, and it's gonna be an opportunity. We're going to be hosting basically a full day and evening of Zoom sessions where you can just sort of sign up for choose your time slot that you want, and we'll just be in groups of about 10 people together, hanging out, drinking whiskey, talking about
I think that's on the 19th. Is that right?
Yeah, that'll be on the 19th. Well, you'll see in the email tomorrow. You can start signing up. So I would just encourage you guys to sign up. Pick a time slot. We'll be going from like around noon until 11 p.m. So about 11 hours.
11 hours of boom.
11 hours of boom. And then next time, I like Steve's suggestion. We can do James Bond trivia. Bond and whiskey go together. Absolutely. Forget those Smirnoff years. The worst product placement of a Scottish soldier. Yeah. Anyway, what should we all remember, Steve or Scott?
That's right. Scotch Malt Whiskey Society whiskeys are not for swigging, glugging, or knocking back. Please drink responsibly. Cheers.
Cheers.
Did you hit the button? You hit the button, or do I hit the button?